What up? What up? What up? Happy Sunday afternoon, everyone. Excuse me. This is Gerald O11 Green with another installment of the Southern Baller Show. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. If you just coming in to be nosy or supporting, either way, just hit my like button, share, subscribe, and hit my like button as well. Of course, I have my brothers. We have a full panel this afternoon. I have my right hand man, Coach 67 Sports TV. What's going on?
I'm blessed and highly favored, bro. How y'all gentlemen doing this afternoon?
Man, can't complain about anything at all. JB, what's going
Man.
on, brother?
Hey man, just like Coach said, blessed and highly favored, man, and join my Sunday evening and we about to have a fire show.
Yes, sir. And then we have brother Brent Fox. It's just me in the building. What's going on, man?
What's happening? What's happening, y'all?
Man, we
What's
just
up,
chilling.
Brent?
What up, JB? I'm gonna get to you in a minute.
Hey, I'm here for it, bro.
Yes, go. Let's start off. Let's go into it, man. Let's talk about the NFL draft, man, that ended yesterday. 2025 NFL draft. A lot of young men's dreams were completed or done yesterday. Of course, we'll see if it's pan out, if their dreams pan out. But it was an exciting time yesterday for a lot of young men working hard, putting their bodies on the line, and getting drafted, and being paid millions to play the game. So it's exciting. We're gonna go into it, man. Who did you believe? Who did you guys believe had the best draft in your opinion? Coach, I'm going to you first.
Well, there's some years I think whoever has like the best pick or make the biggest impact in a first round, I think that particular individual or that particular team has the best draft. And then there are other instances where I believe what you do from top to bottom is a team collectively has the best draft. I mean, of course, at the end of the day, when you do these immediate draft grades, it's really hard to tell. You kind of really have to reevaluate these same drafts like 5 to 10 years down the line, sometimes even later. But I would say my immediate, like after the draft impact, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they had the best first round, and I think they had the best draft overall because I feel like he might have been the missing piece in terms of adding Travis Hunter to Jacksonville. I think he can be the player that can kind of put him over the top. Whether they use him strictly offensively, strictly defensively, or they use him on both sides of the ball, or they use him in all three phases of the game. Truthfully speaking, I think he could be the thing that really kind of puts them over the top and kind of make them a serious playoff contender. I know some people felt like they gave up too much draft capital to move up to the second spot to get him. But either way, I think he's going to be a major impact player on their team, and I think he could be the thing that kind of puts him over the top. So in terms of right now, I think my immediate after the draft reaction is the fact that I feel like the Jacksonville Jaguars had the best NFL draft.
Okay, yeah, I can't say that the Jacksonville Jaguars had a bad draft. So yeah, especially getting once in a lifetime talent like Travis Hunter. So yeah, I can buy that. Definitely can buy that. JB, who you got having a decent draft or good draft?
I'm gonna go with the Carolina Panthers.
Mm.
I think they immediately got better. They put pieces around their quarterback. I forgot his name that quick. QB Bryce Young. Um, they got some receivers for him. I just really like how they drafted. You know, um,
Hmm.
another. Of course, I'm gonna say my Ravens had a good draft as well. As far as getting the pieces we need,
Hmm.
you know, we got more pieces and backups for the offensive line, tackle and guard. Um, we got some pieces on defense, a safety primarily. So, um, of course, all this is just, uh, don't want to say imaginary. We're liking, what we see. Where players went. It all matters. When we put on when they put on those pads, man, and when we actually get to see them play, you actually really, I think we need to come back to this argument, 3 years from now to see
Hmm.
how these draft classes come when you can really tell which drafts work out and which drafts is a bust. But
Yeah, you're
right
right.
now,
Right.
just projecting, I think the Carolina Panthers and Baltimore had a great draft.
Yeah, 2 to 3 years. You know what I mean? Because you you have players that like a Teron Armstead, who was drafted from Arkansas Pine Bluff. It took him a couple of years to get into that Pro Bowl caliber talent. And shout out to him. He retired um, at the end of the season. So yeah, you're right. That around that 2 to 3 or even 4 year period, you'll see if a draft class talent um, has blossomed or there was a bust. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And before I go to Brent, I'm gonna shout out everyone in the chat. Autism Boy, what's going on? Uh, my boy Anthony Bolton, Memphis man, he says salute. And first time seen you, brother Brandon Hallam says, is sure Shador still on the board? I guess you're trying to be funny because the draft is over. But no, Shador was drafted in the fifth round. Or if you wholeheartedly didn't see the draft, or you think the draft is today, then the draft is over, brother. Draft is over. Um, Anthony Bolton said Shador got drafted by the Browns, and Shiloh was a free agent signing with Tampa Bay. Yep, there you go. Brent Fox, going to you. Who you think had a great draft?
Actually, this answer is really going to surprise you. I think that the Arizona Cardinals had a pretty good draft as well. I also think that the Carolina Panthers had a good draft too. Y'all always have a good draft, so that's kind of like a write off. But yeah, I think interestingly,
Shit.
the Arizona Cardinals had a pretty good draft.
Okay, Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. Okay, so here's who they actually picked up. So of course they picked up Walter Nolan. Um, they picked up Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. Nobody was really bothering touching him because of his injury
Injury,
history.
yeah, knee injury, yeah.
But but he was still overall the best cornerback in that particular draft, this side of Travis Hunter, of course. Um, they also picked up a gentleman by the name of Jordan Birch. He's an edge rusher from Oregon. They picked up Cody Simon, who's a good defensive lineman from Ohio State. Denzel Burke, also from Ohio State. Um, and then a guy that I've actually watched, Hayden Connor, the guard from Texas. They picked him up in the sixth round, and then Keaton Crawford, the safety from Nevada. So there's no doubt that they're actually trying to make sure that the defense is straight. That way they're not a liability. So I think that they did really good as far as picking up talented guys that can actually either be an impact player or be a really good role player.
Right, right. Now going back to Walter Nolan, I agree that he um was in the top three or top five best defensive tackles in this draft.
Uh-huh.
Walter Nolan is a beast. So, yeah, Arizona and the Cardinals quietly had a good draft, in my opinion. Now, who I want to give my hat to, I believe, just answering my own question, I believe the Bears had a damn good draft.
Yeah, they did.
Surrounding weapons around Caleb Williams, getting Colston Loveland from Michigan, and can't name the other players. I can just let me stop being lazy and just press. Just waiting
I
for
got
stuff.
you. So they picked up Colston Loveland. They picked
And
up
then
Luther
Luther Burden, that's who I wanted to.
Burden.
Luther Burden, in my opinion, was one of the best in my personal top three wide receivers in the draft. Luther Burden the third.
Mhm.
So Caleb Williams getting that type of caliber of wide receiver definitely is going to help the offense and giving him many weapon. What up, Big Reg, host of Big Boy Talk? He says, "What's up, everybody? Appreciate you coming by. Appreciate all y'all, man. But yeah, I think the Bears had a damn good draft, man.
Yeah.
Um,
And
they,
remember, they still got Cole Kmet at tight end. So
yeah, they did, man, and it's definitely gonna be interesting. Um, I'm gonna ask you guys this, still eating off the draft. Which player you think has the highest ceiling in this draft? Going with you, Coach.
I think I kind of already tipped my hand. I'm gonna go with Travis Hunter because I think his versatility. I think on the next level. I don't know how much offense he's gonna play, how much defense he's gonna play, how much special teams he's gonna play. But a player like that could be a Swiss Army knife that could get multiple touches on in all three phases of the game. I think a player like that, especially if he could be like a Deshaun Jackson, Steve Smith Sr. type of player. I mean, I think a player like that could be huge when you're a team that's kind of on the verge of being like a playoff caliber team.
Okay. JB, who you got? You think gonna have the highest ceiling in the draft? Which particular player that comes to mind? And you can't pick Travis Hunter.
The highest ceiling, and I'm gonna pick based on the team they went to, because you can have the highest ceiling all you want. If you go to the wrong team, then it's been one.
Yeah.
Let me see.
My brother Kondo, what's up? He said, my great brother Jared, man, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you always supporting. Kondo LWC.
Where did Omarion Hampton go to? I forgot. The Chargers, right?
Yes.
Omarion
Hampton.
Ooh, yeah, Omarion Hampton. A run-heavy offense, and then they got X Still and Najee Harris over there. So you got that 1-2 punch over there. And then you got that Greg Roman system, run heavy. Yeah. Omarion Hampton.
And then you don't have to worry about Omarion Hampton like he did in North Carolina, getting all the carries, and so you don't have to worry about him being, used
Injured, nicked up.
Nicked up because, he's the workhorse. You got two workhorses in that backfield.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I definitely buy that. Brent Fox, who you
got? Surprisingly enough, I've already mentioned this guy, and he's not in the first round. I think that I think that Will Johnson is probably going to have the highest ceiling because he already has a pretty low floor. as far as like his draft status or whatnot. So I think, and I know the dreaded term "when healthy" is is something that nobody wants to mention, but I think when healthy, he can be a very dynamic playmaker on defense that can actually take the ball away and that be very impactful to his team. So I think Will Johnson is probably going to be the impact player, or somebody with the highest ceiling. I also think Kenneth Grant, an honorable mention, could be one of those as well.
Okay, I definitely can buy that, man. I got Jahdae Brown.
Oh yeah.
I got Barron. Excuse me, I said Brown. Jahdae Barron from a cornerback from Texas, Denver picked him up. He's going. He's in good company. They got Riley Moss over there. They got number 2 over there. I'm blanking on the young man's name, but he's a beast. He's one of the best corners.
PS2.
PS2, yeah.
Patrick
Surtain Jr.
Mhm.
So all he has to do is just follow them dudes around and just learn from them. And he's already a damn good talent. He's gonna be good.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know what? He is hyper intelligent too. He's very, very football intelligent.
Yes, and I'm picking. Yes, I'm picking one of my Baltimore Ravens pick. I'm gonna go Mike Green as my alternate. Mike Green. I don't know how the hell he dropped down to us. I thought he would have been off the board. But we were able to grab him. He was available. So it's
in the second round, bro.
In the second round, because he definitely was a first round talent or a early second round talent. So, I don't know. There was some the reason why a lot of teams didn't want to get him because of he got into a couple of altercations, but still, he should have been drafted higher than falling to us. So, Mike Green should fit well in our defensive scheme, and he should eat. He definitely should eat. So, I as far as my alternate player that should have a high ceiling is Mike Green. But this was a good draft for a lot of teams. Speaking, and we're gonna let's go Carolina Red. It ain't a guarantee for him to get to and salute to Carolina Red. He said it ain't guaranteed for him to get to complete. They brought him in because he was the best available left on the board. They didn't want him. It was shown on their faces. Yeah. But I think it's gonna work out though. If you're referring to Mike Green, Carolina Red,
or Sheduer,
or yeah. If you're referring to Sheduer Sanders, we definitely gonna get into that. Speaking about Sheduer, we gonna talk about him falling in the 5th round, and then probably the last topic of the show. But let's get out the not other stuff out the way. So let me unsure. All right. Regarding the boxing, anybody catch the fight yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I did.
And what was your thoughts on the fight? And please educate the viewers if they're.
You want to go first, Brother Brent, or you want me to go first?
No, Coach, you got it.
All right. Of course, major shout out to our LDBC brother and Cadillac Red, Supreme Beast Boxing Talk. Y'all ain't subscribed to Supreme Beast Boxing Talk. Y'all go check him out. Of course, yes. Brother Brent and I, we was backstage, checking out the fight. And for those that don't know, Chris Eubank Jr. fought against Conor Benn. For those that don't know, Chris Eubank Jr. is the son of UK boxing legend Chris Eubank Sr., and Conor Benn is the son of UK boxing legend Nigel Benn. All right. So they fought, and we for those individuals that don't know, Conor Benn fought primarily at the welterweight division, but he was moving up in weight. They fought at a catchweight, and Chris Eubank Jr. primarily fought at middleweight. So they fought at a catchweight, which is junior middleweight, which is the 154-pound limit. But they had a special clause or whatever. And in the leading up to the fight, at one point, people that don't know, Conor Benn tested positive for some PEDs for clomidine, and he said the reason why he tested positive because he had some contaminated eggs. So leading up to the fight, in one of press conferences, Chris Eubank Jr. slapped him with an egg. Right. In addition to that, in this country, when fighters miss weight, especially if they miss weight terribly, for the most part, they get use the restroom, they come back, they make weight. I've seen Bernard Hopkins, I've seen other fighters do it. But Chris Eubank Jr. missed weight by like 14 grams or like an ounce or whatever. And in all actuality, he could have used the restroom and made weight. But they fined him $500,000 for missing weight by 14 grams, which was crazy to me. All right, so the fight started. We backstage with our brother Cadillac Red, watching. And I'm not gonna lie, from the start of the fight, you could tell Chris Eubank Jr. was a little bit weight drained because not only did they meet at a catch weight and he missed weight by like an ounce, 14 grams, whatever, but he came down in weight some, and not only that, but they had a rehydration clause. So I'm not gonna lie, from the outset of the fight, Chris Eubank Jr. looked a little sluggish. And not only that, but Conor Benn, he looked a little bit more active and aggressive. It was obvious that Chris Eubank Jr. was a bigger fighter, but in terms of like explosion and activity, Conor Benn was the more active fighter. And for individuals that watch Roy Jones Jr. in his prime, Conor Benn was kind of using that type of fighting style in terms of, throwing a lot of haymakers, throwing straight right hands, lead left hooks, check left hooks, straight right hands. So he was jumping in. He really wasn't, even when he worked behind the jab and worked his way in, like he was clearly a quicker fighter, and he was constantly beating Chris Eubank Jr. to the punch. And that was the issue in the early rounds, but clearly Conor Benn, he expended too much energy in those earlier rounds, because in maybe about the fourth, fifth round, you could see him clearly start to slow down. And I'm not gonna lie, Chris Eubank Jr. started catching him with that uppercut as he was just jumping in. He jump in, boom. Chris Eubank Jr. catching with the uppercut. And I'm not gonna lie, initially I was kind of, because I ain't gonna lie, I wanted Chris Eubank Jr. to win. I felt like, man, you got to keep your hands up. You got to work behind your jab, because Conor Benn just kept jumping in. And then, he was throwing a lot of haymakers. And then as the fight progressed, Conor Benn slowed down. Chris Eubank Jr., started catching him more. But both fighters were clearly fatiguing. And I'm not going to lie, the last few rounds of the fight, they literally fought against the ropes in the phone booth, like literally leaning up against each other, just slugging it out. Yeah, we're not working behind a jab. We're not working our way in. We just squared up, leaning on each other, just punching as much as we could. It wasn't especially the last few rounds, it wasn't a technical fight. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna keep it a buck. It was a very, very good scrap. It wasn't a high level, high quality fight like, maybe like, I don't know, maybe like a Roy Jones Jr., Bernard Hopkins, where, the casual fans would be aggravated at that type of fight because it's not a lot of action, it's technical, so on and so forth. If you like a rock'em sock'em robot like Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti type fight, this was your fight. In those last three last 3 rounds, it really encapsulated that. Chris Eubank Jr. ended up getting the win. On the scorecards, most of them were like 116, 112 in favor of Chris Eubank Jr., which is 8 rounds to 4. Me personally, I scored it 115, 113 in favor of Chris Eubank Jr. It was a close fight. There were a lot of close rounds that could have went either way, but at the end of the day, I think it was a very good scrap. I don't think it was like high level. Cadillac Red pointed this out. I don't think it was like high level stuff in terms of like maybe like James Toney, Gerald G. McClellan. I don't think it was that type of fight, but I think it was like a Arturo Guide and Mickey Ward, Rock'em Sock'em Robot type fight. It was a very good scrap, very entertaining, but it wasn't high level type stuff.
Okay, Brent, what was your take on the fight?
My take is pretty much going to be similar to Coach's. Thank you for setting the table, by the way, brother. But yeah, I think, and I've actually did round by round. I'm not going to do that to y'all. I did round by round analysis with that particular fight. And to Coach's point, yes, early on, Conor Benn was very effective jumping in. You could tell that the weight draining was an issue for Eubank Jr. But as the fight went on, Eubank started using his size to his advantage, so much so that Conor Benn literally bounced off of him a couple of times and just kind of rolled into the ropes. And then as far as like the phone booth fighting was actually concerned, that was pretty much back and forth. There were a couple of rounds where, yes, Chris Eubank Jr. used his size to his advantage and was getting the better of the exchanges. But I think, I believe maybe in round 9 or 10, I think it was 10, Conor Benn actually hurt Chris Eubank and, tried to finish the fight, but he just didn't have enough juice. And then that 11th and final round, Eubank Jr. came back and pretty much sealed the deal, getting those particular rounds and then winning the fight. Now, I'm like Coach. I had the fight 7-5, Chris Eubank Jr. I didn't have it 8-4 like those judges had it. But, again, it was a very, very good fight. It was very entertaining, especially towards the end. And I would love to see a rematch. Now, what I will say is that hopefully the promoter, Eddie Hearn, does not get in the way of this with, ridiculous stipulations or clauses. He's known for doing that and then dismantling fights. So hopefully he doesn't get in the way of that particular rematch. But I would like to see Eubank Jr. And Conor Benn fight again. But yeah, the weight drain was clearly an issue, and that needs to be addressed if they're going to fight again.
I'm not gonna lie, that's an excellent breakdown, brother Brent. And he pointed out one thing I failed to point out. He right, Conor Benn did hurt Chris Eubank Jr. at one point later in the fight, and like he said, he didn't have enough juice to finish him off. But one other thing that was like so obvious, like in the 12th round at one point, like he said, it was against the rules. They were fighting in the phone booth. At one point, Chris Eubank Jr. went to punch Conor Benn, and Conor Benn was so tired, he just kind of like put his head down just a little bit, and Chris Eubank Jr. missed him and almost fell flat on his face. They were both tired. That's why, like at the end of the fight, that's kind of why they were just literally just leaning on each other, just trading punches, punching back and forth. Because honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, I think to a certain degree they were holding each other up because both of them were so fatigued and so tired. But it was an excellent scrap. Let me rephrase it. Not excellent. It was a very good scrap. And I don't think it was a high level boxing match. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, it was some good rock'em sock'em robot type stuff. And that's why it, like, especially like them last couple of rounds, like literally they were laying on each other. And I think they were kind of holding each other up.
I'm glad you brothers watched the fight, because I ain't gonna lie, me and JB, we were set to watch the fight, but our we We love football. We love boxing too, but I wanted to see who was going, if someone was going to eventually draft Sheduer Sanders. So my eyes was glued to that draft. Um, but thank you for that recap, man. Both of you brothers. So yeah, so congratulations to Chris Eubank Jr. on winning the fight. Um,
Congratulations.
salute to Grow with Soul. Um, he had Grow with Soul had an awesome man live with his family, man, and with old heads on there. I'm talking about their experience and dealing with racism and just dealing with, just giving their testimony what it's like to go through a different time back in the day as a black man. So and a lot of fellowship. So it was good stuff, man. It's on his live on his channel, so y'all go check it out. Um, salute to my brother Joe, Big Joe Town. He said salute to the family. What's good, brother? Always supporting one of my other co-hosts. And Jay the Six in here in the building. He said, yo, Carolina Panthers fan. We were just talking about how y'all did a good job in draft. Welcome. All right. I really didn't want to talk about it, but my right hand man coach suggested we did. Um, because it's going on with a lot of black men in sports. The Shannon Sharpe situation. And being sued for alleged sexual assault to a 20 from a 20-year-old white woman or white girl. But Shannon Sharpe is suited and booted with his lawyer, so he ready to fight, and he provided proof that it was all consensual. Going with you, Coach. What's your thoughts on this foolishness, man?
Man, for y'all individuals that follow my channel and that's been checking us out on this channel, y'all know my stance and y'all know my take on this entire situation. When it comes to this country, I'm not gonna lie, this country we live in is modern day Babylon. And from a racial standpoint, the double standard is absolutely ridiculous and downright disgusting. Because, if you're a black man that's in his 50s, dating in a consensual relationship with a 19, 20-year-old OnlyFans model, you're the scum of the earth. You're a disgusting individual. You're a pedo. You're a perv. You're this. You're that. However, if you got individuals like Bill Belichick, who's 75 years old, dating, I think, with a 25, 26, 27-year-old girl. If you have Leonardo DiCaprio doing the same thing. Hugh Hefner, literally, he had an entire mansion dedicated to this. So these buck dancing buffoons and boot picking coons, they make me sick. I don't want to hear nothing to Diddy. Let's talk about these Playboy mansion parties, because in all actuality, that's all the Diddy party was a Playboy mansion party. And some people are like, well, there's white men, Coach. All right, well, let's go to white women. When you talk about Cher and Madonna, who constantly have this thing for dating younger black men, nobody talk about them. And let's even take it to black women. Recently, our former First Lady, Michelle Obama, who I'm a little bit disappointed in her also, she has a new podcast. And instead of talking about like relevant issues like race or race in America, issues that really kind of affect and impact the black community, she decided she wanted to have another one of these red table talk, feminist women's empowerment type podcast, which is pointless to me. And her first guest was Tracy Ellis Ross. And Tracy Ellis Ross on that podcast, she basically said that, and she's practically the same age as Shannon. and she said that she doesn't date men her own age because men her age are toxically masculine. For individuals that haven't been in relationships or really haven't spent a lot of time with the other sex, it's kind of a covert way of saying that, hey, if I date a man my own age, he's gonna have certain standards and certain expectations that I'm gonna have to live up to. However, if I date a man that's in his early 20s, for all intents and purposes, we have like a equal partnership, and I kind of do what I want, and I have more leverage in that type of relationship. So some of these same women that's saying Shannon Sharpe is the creepy old uncle, and he's a perv, and he's grooming women, and he's a pedo, and all these other type of things. Either they have nothing to say when it comes to Tracy Ellis Ross, or they're saying, "Hey, go girl, all praises to the queen," and blah 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 blah. It's like, hey, they encourage Tracy Ellis Ross to do what she did, but Shannon Sharpe did exactly the same thing. The only difference is he's doing it with young white girls, and guess what? They condemning him. They casting stones upon him. But on the flip side, when it comes to Tracy Ellis Ross, they praising her for doing the exact same thing. So I'm gonna keep it real. It's not even a double standard. It's not a triple standard. At this point, it's a quadruple standard. It's disgusting. And I'm not gonna lie. A lot of things, I don't like a lot of things Shannon Sharpe has said or did, even with the Club Shay Shay, with the whole interview with Cat Williams. I'm not gonna lie, I was not a huge fan of that entire situation. I haven't been a fan of some of the stuff he said on Undisputed, First Take, or whatever the case may be. I'm not gonna lie, there have been instances where I felt like even him, he's kind of been a buck dancing coon at points. He's a buffoon. He's been a bootlick at points, in my opinion. But I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it all the way 100. I stand by him on this particular situation because clearly this ain't nothing but a 304 shakedown. Point blank, bottom line, period. Because when we had the whole situation with FS1, with Skip Bayless and Charlie, whatever his face is, instead of black people saying, hey, we want all this smoke with Skip Bayless. Hey, they ain't had no smoke for Skip Bayless. They point everything at Joy Taylor. In fact, the irony of it is you got a star of a show, you got a high-level executive, messing with women, harassing women, so on and so forth. They find some kind of way to point the finger at Joy Taylor and Emmanuel Acho in that particular scenario. And it's like anytime it's time for black people, especially YouTubers, but the black community as a whole, and anytime it's time to hold white people accountable, we have no smoke for them. Even talking about Michelle Obama, even Barack Obama. Hey, black men were the second biggest voter bloc for Kamala Harris. But yet he got all this smoke for black people. But yet you don't have Bill Clinton out there talking about white men. Hey, you didn't have Joe Biden out there talking about white men. You didn't have Hillary Clinton out there bashing white women. So at the end of the day, when it comes to this country, it's like black people got smoke for black people and everybody else got smoke for black people. And instead of us standing on one accord, instead of us standing hand in hand, instead of us uniting and being as one. I mean, that's the biggest thing in this country that white supremacy is scared of is black unity and black togetherness. But when it comes to these Willie Lynch letter and white supremacy, they've done such a good job of conditioning us to go against each other, whether it's black man against black woman, colorism, old black people against young. I don't care what it is. They do an excellent job of putting black people against black people, making black people go against black people. And it's sad, instead of us supporting this brother, you got all kind of black women saying that's good for him. He get whatever he deserved. He was stupid. Man, some of these people that's trying to cast aspersions upon Shannon Sharpe, they are in no moral position. I have no moral high ground to talk bad about him, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, like, look, to me, I feel like if you're not coming out and supporting him, just don't say nothing. Because at the end of the day, this girl, it clearly was a consensual relationship. He dropped text messages. She talking about put a big black baby inside of me. It clearly was some race play. She's in a BDSM type stuff. And I mean, to me, I think they both have some sick perversions when it comes to like race play and that type of thing. But at the end of the day, hey, look, man, for all these people that's coming out against Shannon Sharpe and talking about, he a perv and he a creepy old uncle. Well, if Shannon Sharpe is a creepy old uncle, then Tracy Ellis Ross is a creepy old auntie. But black women don't have that kind of smoke for Tracy Ellis Ross. So at the end of the day, to me, I stand in support in this particular issue. When it comes to Shannon Sharpe, I'm supporting the brother on this in this regard.
I hear you. Just reading some of what people put in the chat. Growing with Soul said there needs to be legislation to keep these 304 from extortion brothers. Yeah, I agree. And something needs to be happening. Something needs to happen. J6 said all could have been avoided if he listened to Monique Cat and learn from the major situation. Leave the snow buddies alone and find a girl your age. I agree, but here's my only thing with brother Coach 67 saying, and I see you, Carolina Red. I agree with you, but here's my only problem with that. What a lot of black people need to realize: white people can do the same thing and don't get held accountable the same way. My issue with that is a lot of black people accept. Well, he should never did. He know that he's not like white people, and that's the problem. That's the problem. So y'all wouldn't accept not to be treated as equal as far even when it comes to punishment.
And I mean, that's my thing too with the whole Tracy Ellis Ross situation. A lot of these black women, not just black people in general, they calling Shannon this creepy old uncle.
Yep.
And they got all this smoke for Shannon Sharpe.
Yeah, Kels.
All right, where the smoke for Tracy Ellis Ross at? Because she clearly said that hey, she dates much younger men in their early, 20s, whatever the case may be. So if Shannon is the creepy old uncle, then guess what? Tracy Ellis Ross is the creepy old auntie. So guess what? We need to have the same smoke for Tracy Ellis Ross. If we going, to me, if you're gonna hold Shannon to this standard, then we need to hold this same standard to everybody, for everybody across the board. And that's the issue I have. It's not a double standard. It's not a triple standard. It's a quadruple standard at this point.
Yeah, and yeah, just everybody. I don't care what color you are. If you're not holding people to the same standard, but you and on the other hand, you'll watch somebody do the same thing. It don't have the same energy. Shut up. Shut the hell up. Because you're not keeping that same energy. JB, what you think on this topic? I know you don't really care for this foolishness, but I'm interested in what you're thinking.
Look, man, Shannon is a Raven, so I'm always gonna have love for him. But Shannon can be the whole. He a goofy, but I don't condone on what's happening. I don't think it's right for what's happening to him because it's not consistent of what everybody else been doing who's been in his position as what do you call it, a high profile man, especially because he doesn't have the right color. So I just hope that, long story short, I'm not gonna be long on this, fellas. Because everybody's not consistent of what everybody else do. Hell, I'm a UNC fan, and nobody said shit about Bill Belichick. And hell, he got hired on to North Carolina. So I don't really care about what's happening to Shannon Sharpe as far as what they say he did and what people think he should have did and dated. Now, personally, me being pro, for our people, I agree with like what Jada6 said in a certain extent. He probably should have went, but when took Monique advice, but at the end of the day, he's a man. He make his own decisions. He didn't break the law. You know what I'm saying? So I think people were putting spin on it. And I think, he was about to get paid a lot of money, and all of a sudden this comes out. Same thing happened with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and I mean,
When Deshaun Watson,
I don't mean to cut you off. Carolina Red mentioned that in the chat where his cognac is selling good. And
Deshaun Watson,
and maybe them little hats that that own Ciroc had a problem with it. And I don't mean to put my aluminum foil hat on, but nothing is coincidence. But go ahead, JB.
No, I watch all this stuff. Diddy had issues with the Ciroc situation, with the Ciroc owners or whatever, and all of a sudden this stuff comes up. Bill Cosby was about to always been talking about buying NBC, and this stuff come out. Deshaun Watson talked about getting out his contract with the Houston Texans, and wanting a better deal, and all these girls pop up out of nowhere. I'm the type of dude, I watch shit like that, where everybody else running their mouth, talking about what somebody should have done and shouldn't did. I watch stuff like that. I watch the play. But I hope Shannon Sharpe lands on his feet, and I hope the brother, success in his future endeavors. That's it.
Yeah. And we got a good brother on here. Former Division I football player and one of my co-hosts, LDBC Business, Big Joe, Joseph Townsend. What's going on, man?
What's going on with the family? Everybody doing good? What's going on this Sunday?
Blessed and highly favored. How you doing this afternoon, Big Joe?
Oh man, it's doom and gloomy in the bay, but hey, every day is a great day to be breathing. You feel me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
yeah.
sir. But I'm gonna go to Brent, and I'm gonna go to you, Big Joe, because I definitely want to hear this. Brent, what's your thought on this Shannon Sharpe situation?
I again have a similar outlook to Coach. Now, what I will say that's a little bit different is this. Those people that actually say that Shannon Sharpe is a creepo and what he's doing is questionable and all of that, but in the same breath can recite a rap lyric bigging up Hugh Hefner, and then overlooking what Woody Allen, one of the quote unquote greatest filmmakers of our time, did. It's very hypocritical. Now, Woody Allen, for those that don't know, is a filmmaker, but he wound up marrying a 14-year-old girl, I believe. Okay, and that was politely swept up under the rug.
I think it was his stepdaughter. If I'm not mistaken, Brother Brent.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it was his stepdaughter.
Mm-hmm. Wound up marrying her. Nobody said anything. They had New York Knicks games, and okay, well, that's Woody Allen, his wife, and his young wife, and that's it. Nothing like, hey, man, look at this pedophile, or nothing like that. Nothing. So yeah, I think that yes, there is a huge double standard of America, as far as being selective of which relationships you can approve of and which you don't. If you're going to like Coach said, if you're going to condemn Shannon Sharpe, you need to condemn these other folks, like your president. Your president was knocking down 17 and 18-year-old models back in the 80s. That was verified and proven. But back then it was a lot easier to sweep up under the rug. Nobody said anything about that.
Yep, going so, yep.
Yeah, nobody said anything about that. And there's several examples with the Jeffrey Epstein thing, and there are several CEOs that do the same thing. Nobody's saying anything about them. So yeah, I think that as long as like my other brother was mentioning, nobody has broken the law. then hey, you may not personally approve of that particular type of relationship, but I mean, it pretty much is what it is. It's legal. And then, just publicly condemning another black man, I try not to get into that, even though I do not particularly like Shannon Sharpe's personality. Um, I still believe that you should still be innocent until you're actually proven guilty. But that doesn't work in the way of public opinion. Yes, he could be a jerk or whatever the case may be. But again, that's no reason to try to convict him of a crime. Um, if there is evidence just saying that that the relationship was consensual and that the actions in question cannot be proven to the point to where he would be convicted of anything, then we need to do like we always do and just let that go. Since we're in the spirit of forgiving other people and not ourselves. But that's a whole nother matter entirely, brother. And I don't want to keep going on about that. But that's what I have to say. We just need to take a closer look at ourselves before we start condemning other folks.
And Brother Brent, he articulated that beautifully. And one thing we need to point out too, this entire situation with him, the whole time he's been with this young OnlyFans model, she's always been of age of consent. So he didn't break any laws, one. And two, she's not pressing criminal charges against him. It's a civil lawsuit. So essentially, like I said earlier, it's a 304 shakedown. And another thing Brother Brent pointed out, so beautifully is, they talk about Epstein Island. One of those young ladies that survived Epstein Island, recently she deleted and unalived herself, but nobody's even making mention of that. So, they always holler, but like, hey, we need to protect the babies and protect the children, and this fake selective outrage. Where's the outrage for this young lady who, it's no telling what she went through, and for her to delete and unalive herself, like, where's the outrage and the outcry for her? But nobody cares.
That's facts, man. It's crazy, man. And Carolina Red said Elvis and Hefner never bucked the system and went against the little hats. It don't matter. That's not really the point. The point is the brothers being punished for something everybody does. And he didn't really how he bucking the system, selling liquor. That was that bucking the system.
I think what he's saying is that's why they're going after him.
Oh, okay. Oh, my bad, Carolina Red. If I interpreted that wrong. LDBC business, Big Joe. What's your thoughts?
Can you brothers hear me? I'm in my car. I want to make sure y'all can hear me good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, man, y'all out here cooking with grease, hot grease, peanut oil. Y'all frying chicken and catfish out here. So, y'all done said mostly everything, but I'll add this. When you're a man of status and you're a man of money, you're gonna have access to a range of women, anywhere from the legal age of 18 all the way till whatever you like. So when you're a man of status and man you have money, you will attract younger women, because younger women, some of them are looking for what they call a sugar daddy. Now, a lot of women know what a sugar daddy is. I know women in their 30s and 40s still looking for a sugar daddy. A sugar daddy is somebody, who has money, who can help pay bills, put money on their books or take care of them and all that kind of stuff. So you got women looking for a sugar daddy. And those women are normally called sugar babies. They looking for a man of money. Normally they're older, somebody to take care of them. Normally the sugar babies are looking for somebody who's older, because that way they ain't got to give away no nookie. They can just get all this money from this guy without having to give away no sugar. So there's a whole realm and the whole culture when it comes to all that. Throughout history, younger women have always been attracted to older men. I have dated women who have been attracted to older white men. This lady was in her 30s and she was attracted to guys like Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, guys who were just older. For some reason, she found them fairly attractive. I thought that was odd as hell, but hey, I guess I was the only one that felt that way. Even back in high school, we have women in high school who were sophomores who
Hey,
dated
Big Joe,
guys
you
who were.
cooking? Hold that thought. Do you think she'll find them attractive? They making her Subway sandwich?
I'm sorry, what?
If Bill Belichick or Pete Rose was preparing her Subway sandwich at Subway, will you think that?
Oh no, definitely not. No, no, no. You
Okay,
definitely gotta
I
have
just
some
was
money.
checking.
You definitely gotta have money.
Okay,
You
okay,
gotta have
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. You gotta have money. You just can't be a regular old white man. You gotta be a white man of stature and some money. To some women, Bill Clinton still look attractive. I'm just saying. So,
That's what I
but
thought. Go proceed, brother. My
yeah,
bad.
no, you can't be an old white man bagging groceries at the grocery store. Nah, no, no. They gonna tell your old crusty behind to move on. But But yeah, even in high school, you had sophomores in high school dating guys who were seniors in college, and the parents were okay with it. No issues, no problems. I've had women approach me, tell me that you should date my daughter. I want my daughter to date a real man, have her not be sleeping around. I want her to be with a real man starting out. So I've had mothers proposition me their daughter for the sake of them not having to go on the cock carousel trying to find the right one. So, you know, people can get on Shannon Sharpe all day long, but all y'all said this has been going on for a long time. Y'all brother brought up Elvis, y'all brought up, Harvey Weinstein, y'all brought up an array of guys. So they're just picking on Shannon because Shannon is outspoken and Shannon is black. That's the only reason. Again, Bill Belichick is out here on the beach doing yoga with his 20-something-year-old girl. Nobody says nothing. Everybody says, oh, look at Bill living his best life. I ain't know Bill had that dog in him. All these fantastic quotes. Bill Belichick is way older than Shannon Sharpe, but Shannon Sharpe is a creep. Meanwhile, Bill is living his best life. So it's the like Coach says, a quadruple standard and whatnot. Again, you had Josh Giddey. Everybody, we were trying to get on Josh Giddey. Everybody was saying, oh, she finessed him and he didn't know, and the consensual age in Canada is 16, and all these excuses. But meanwhile, we have somebody who's 18, 19, who's a legal age. All of a sudden, oh, but Shannon's the creep. But then again, y'all were just saying how Shannon got finessed. I can't believe how he got finessed by this young girl, which means then she knew what she was doing, which means she's smart, which means she wasn't some woman who was groomed and was manipulated by Shannon Sharpe if she finessed him. You can't finesse somebody and be a victim. It don't work that way. But you know, it is a shakedown. It is what it is. If you live if you're in of certain stature or whatnot, you're gonna attract women from the legal age all the way to whatever you don't want. And this has been going on for a long time and nothing changed. Even back to since everybody loved Greeks and Romans, back to the Roman days, all that was going on from little girls and little boys. So there's even in a higher class now where some men partake in young men from different parts of the country, but nobody brings that up. Again, the Catholic Church been doing this forever, as far as the old priests messing with them young boys, and nobody say nothing. But Shannon Sharpe is the ultimate creep when it comes to creepism. But hey, this is the society we live in. Um, Shannon Sharpe will come out, from my information, Shannon Sharpe will come out innocent. He will be tainted. His name will be stained and tainted. But on the flip side, if you're trying to get into that back room, if you're trying to get to that other side where the elites are, you gotta have some dirt on you. And if they got some dirt on you, and if they're showing you to not be as clean cut, they might give you the money anyway. So we'll see what happens. But good luck to Shannon.
Yeah, yeah,
And
man.
that was a great job, Big Joe. And And one thing I want to point out, I don't know if y'all old enough to remember this, but when I was younger, we had this thing called ambulance chasing lawyers. This guy Tony Busby, he ain't nothing but an ambulance chasing lawyer when it comes to high profile black men. So you notice he go at people like Diddy, like Jay-Z, like Shannon Sharpe. So he ain't nothing but an ambulance chasing lawyer. So to me, as a lawyer, he has not a whole lot of credibility. So the fact that he probably was the only lawyer that was willing to take this case. But it is what it is. I agree with Big Joe, who articulated his points very well. And if she was smart, she just would have took them 10 M's that he offered her and kept it pushing. But it is what it is.
Yeah,
All right.
man.
Can I add to something? Can I add to something real quick? I forgot. So let
Please
me add
do.
something real quick.
Please do.
The situation with Shannon Sharpe is the reason why you'll see a lot of men keep messing with the same women. You'll be like, how is so and so still? She's over here, she's over there, she over here, she over there. It's because she can be trusted. It's because she's not exposing anybody. Yes, this person may be a thought. Yeah, this person may be whatever, but most guys know who this kind of woman is and they trust her because they haven't exposed them. That's why you don't see a lot of guys trying to going after your regular everyday girl or whatnot. They mess with who's in the room and who's in that society. So that's why you'll see the Dre Michelles and you'll see the Brittany Renners, or you'll see all the old school hip hop vixens. You see the superheads before she started making her book getting passed around because they weren't spilling the beans. So, and this is a lesson to all men. Everybody can get on Shannon Sharpe all day long. This is a lesson to all men. This could happen to you. Throw the age out the window. This could happen to you. I've broken up with a chick and she was trying to
Mm.
ruin my career, called my job, all that kind of stuff. I've had false sexual assault allegations against me. I've had all type of stuff happen to me. So it is important, dear all men, keep all text messages, keep all pictures, keep everything you can have. Put everything in a nice little folder when y'all break up. So if something hit the fan, you have evidence. Don't start deleting. There's some folks that say, well, delete text messages and delete everything, get over her. Yes. But keep everything because you just never know.
No. Yeah.
You may have an okay job now. Let yourself get promoted. Start living well, driving a better car. You elevate past than when you were with her in that relationship. You don't think she ain't gonna feel some kind of way? I'm just saying it can happen to anybody. Keep all evidence. Y'all can be booed up in the bed cuddling. Keep that picture. If y'all do some extracurricular pictures, keep those pictures. You never know. I know plenty of men. Perfect example. I ain't gonna say the brother's name because he passed away. There's a brother who played for the Oakland Raiders when they were still in Oakland. As the NFL player, you're gonna go out there, have some fun, do your thing. He used to record every chick he messed with in his house. He'd take him to his crib, have a secret camera going, bust him down, handle his business. One chick came out and said, same thing about Shannon Sharpe. Oh, he did this to me. He sexual assault and this and this. He did all this to me. The brother had to go to court. Almost lost his NFL career. Only thing that saved him was the recordings that he had that he took place in his bedroom. That's the only thing that saved him from going to prison. Don't forget the brothers at Ohio State who lost their college career because that girl said that they sexually assaulted them. But that video that they took of her saying, oh, I'm okay with all this. I'm okay with all this. We cool. Without that video, they would have lost their lives. You have to have receipts and evidence because you never know when you might have to face a judge and a jury regarding your life. This could happen to anybody. Ha ha he if you want to, but when you in that courtroom, ain't no jokes going on. When them police knock on your door asking you come with us, we need to talk to you, shit gets real. So keep
Mm.
if you're gonna be out here slanging and banging, if you're gonna be out here call yourself being a playboy and being a player, yeah, it will catch up to you at some point. Keep all evidence. That's all I got.
Man, facts. Well said and well needed. Hope y'all brothers listen to it. Listening to that, because it could be a good brother working a 9 to 5, taking care of responsibility, take care of his family, and just meet this young lady, which within age, of course. And just you know, the dating like usual, and something go left and end up in that situation. So it can happen to any of us. It can happen to somebody of age. The same age bracket. If you're 30s, 40s, it don't matter. Y'all brothers, keep your head on swivel. You was not that amazing. Don't believe in the flattery. Protect yourself. Keep your guard up. Okay? Because the devil playing for keeps. But anyway, just going over some of the messages in the chat. Carolina Red said she said that they was in a relationship since she was 20 and no NDA was signed. He fell in love with her freakiness, and instead of only just getting up. They fell in love because them escorts like to do role play and let you do anything to them. The average woman ain't gonna let you do anything to them. Shannon got tapes and texts, so he might get saved. Yeah, he got the proof. Like Big Joe just said. And going with so agree with you, Big Joe. All facts. I emphasize with brothers because it could easily be one of us. Yeah. I ain't
That's the
gonna
thing
lie. I
I don't
checked
get,
with
brother.
and
That's the thing.
before you go into that, Coach, I had to check one of my homeboys. He was trying to school me on something. I was like, hey, and I'm not gonna say his name. Hey, you let a broad while you trying to smash her in the hotel steal your car and drive around town. You can't tell me shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Some of these
Damn.
brothers they trying to stand on this moral high ground like they, holier than now. Like, hey, bro, like we all got a certain degree of skeletons in our closet. Nobody is perfect, fallible. So for you to be highly judgmental, like you need to be in a position to be highly judgmental, and nobody's perfect. So I don't understand why these other men like jumping on this stool full side and going against him. To me, it makes no sense because, like Big Joe was saying, you could be in the same, literally, you could be in the same situation tomorrow.
Facts, man. So y'all brothers, watch out. That Shannon Sharpe situation can happen to any one of us. My brother, Sip the Tally Films, Coach, Sip the Tally Films. He said, I'm here, had to wash the car. I understand, man. Appreciate you for your support and joining.
And one last
What up,
thing.
coach?
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
One last thing is to the brothers out there. If y'all out there handling business, still trying to be a player and all that kind of stuff, don't do everything these women ask you to do. You may think a girl is fun. She'll do anything and everything she asks you to do. Don't do everything. If a woman is saying slap me, grab, there's some women who like to be slapped during sex, who like to be choked, who would like to get bruised up, who like to get spanked with objects and stuff like that. Don't do all that kind of stuff, because now that's evidence. She could have said, to y'all having fun. The next day, you get tired of her and you cut her off, and now she got all these bruises on her. She go to the police station, and they arrest you, and they'll find your handprint wrapped around her neck. So ain't nothing wrong with having fun, but just be careful. I've had women actually tell me, "Can you pretend like you're sexually assaulting me? That's a fetish of mine. Can you please pretend to do that?" And I said, "No, I'm not doing it." You know, so just be careful. Don't just be doing any and everything because a girl's wide open for you. She wide open for you now, but when she wide open for you now, but when she go to the police and that jail cell close on you, everything gonna be closed for you then. So y'all better just be careful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you from firsthand experience. Yes, they will ask you to do that and then turn around and try to flip it on you later. So yeah, you're right.
Yes, Lord.
I'm telling you, man. But yeah, let's go back to football, y'all. Just but even though it's sports related, because we're doing Shannon Sharpe, just had to cover that, man. Jay Barr in the building. He said I'm late, but I'm here. Salute, family. We appreciate you always supporting. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it. So we mainly got our brothers on here, Brent Fox and Coach 67 Sports TV, um, to explain in their own words why they believe the Saints, which is Coach's team, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is Brent's team, for those who don't know, did not select Sheduer Sanders. So starting with Coach, let me get your explanation.
Bro, I'm gonna keep it a buck. You know, I pointed this out in my video prior to us going live. You know, we have the Southern Baller Show group chat collective with the five of us and Jay Good. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Cadillac Red is in the group chat also. And basically, in the group chat, you know, we talk about a variety of different things. You know, in terms of this Sheduer situation, this is bigger than just the NFL. See, at one point when it came to the NFL, before these NIL deals, whatever the case may be, basically, you know, as a player, you had to kind of be, you know, like you kind of had to keep your mouth shut. You couldn't be too vocal, too outspoken. That's part of the reason why somebody like Colin Kaepernick, you know, those NFL owners, I don't care what nobody say, he said it himself, like they blackballed him, they blacklisted him. He couldn't get back in the NFL. And to me, the thing that I found like so sad about the Colin Kaepernick situation was the people that made it clear to you that they don't want you in a league. And you keep trying to force the issue, keep trying to press the issue, keep trying to get back in the NFL. Like, look, bro, why you still had a little juice left in the tank? I don't know, maybe he felt like the CFL or arena football or any other league was inferior to him and he wanted to be in the best league. Cool. But even with that being said, they made it clear that they didn't want you in. They didn't want you in the NFL. So instead of you deciding, hey, you know, I got a little bag, I'm gonna try to start my own league, or I'm gonna go play in one of these other leagues, whatever the case may be. Like you kept trying to push your way back into the NFL. And you know, we talk about this all the time when we talk about Bill Haney. You know, I think it's starting to. It's not to that point yet with Brian Norman Sr., but it's gonna get to that point. Anytime you have a black involved father, you know, LeVar Ball is another one. A black involved father, because you know they always talk about, you know, about racial profiling and about stereotypes and the black men with their pants falling off their behinds, you know, the gold teeth, the earrings, the tattoos, the face tats, all that. They talk about all that type of stuff, but in all actuality, they don't want you to be the civilized, involved black parent, especially a black father that takes care of his kids, that handles his business. For all intents and purposes, somebody like Bill Haney, everything they say they don't want you to be, he's the opposite of that. He's changed his life. He made a complete 180. He takes care of his sons. He takes care of his children. He takes care of his family, his community, his people. Bill Haney is all of that, and they still talk about him. You know why? Because he's a vocal, outspoken, involved black parent that supports his son and that speaks life and hope and belief into his son. He believes in Devin the Dream Haney. You know what I'm saying? And if anything, we should all try to aspire to be that type of father. And this country that we live in should want more black fathers like that. Even all the issues I have with Coach Prime, with the way he loved Jackson State, I didn't like the way he left. I think he should have just said, hey, I'm taking the job at Colorado because it's paying more money. I'm on the greener pastures, but I wish Jay State well. I didn't like the way he dirtied up Jackson State on his way out the door. I didn't like the whole situation with Ryan Garcia because I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Teofimo Lopez. I don't care if it's Ryan Garcia. If you a non-black person and you talk about my people negatively, man, I don't care if you're a trillionaire. I don't care if you're Elon Musk. I don't give a F who you are. If you talk about my people, ain't nothing you could talk about. I can't rock with you. I don't care what kind of bag you offering me. I don't care what type of media attention you offering me, what type of platform you're offering. I don't care what you offer me. Ain't nothing you could tell me. Ain't nothing for me and you to talk about. You dig? So at the end of the day, I don't like the whole situation with Deion and Ryan Garcia. You know, you having him in the locker room after he went on his racist tirade, after he cheated Devin the Dream Haney. I didn't like that. I didn't rock with that. But even with that being said, to me, Sheduer had nothing to do with that. And in addition to that, there's nothing Sheduer did for him to slide from the first round all the way to the fifth round. And I'm not going to lie, as a Saints fan, I didn't want them to draft him in the first round. The reason being is because I felt like the Saints had too many holes for, to draft him in the first round. But I'm like, all right, hey, it's the second round. You want a quarterback. You need a quarterback. This bum, I don't care what nobody say. At this point, I'm off this whole Derek Carr train. I was never a fan, a proponent of bringing Derek Carr to New Orleans to begin with. If you don't believe me, go back and watch one of the old episodes of Bayou Sports Talk. Myself and my cousins, I told them, they were like, hey, coach, I think, he'll be a good look, if we brought him. I'm like, no. I'm like, he hasn't shown he's that guy in Las Vegas. Why the F would I want to bring him to New Orleans? Essentially, he's not going to do no better than Jameis Winston, which he hasn't. And in addition to that, you're going to give him a boatload and a bag of money for him to be no better than Jameis Winston. You can keep Jameis for that. But they were like, oh, no, I think it might be a good move. And guess what? The Saints got him. Now you stuck on the hook with all of this money. And he got you to restructure his contract. Now he wants to be traded. And he's faking a shoulder injury so he don't play if he can't force his way out. And I'm like, look, bro, F Derek Carr. At least with somebody like Aaron Rodgers, he's been a league MVP. He's been a franchise quarterback. He's earned stripes. Man, Derek Carr ain't did jack-ish in the NFL. He done been a playoff like one time in his whole damn career. So, man, F Derek Carr. Get rid of him. I mean, I'm to the point now, I'm like, look, bro, I'm willing to take the cap hit and I'll cut this effing dude just to get rid of him. F Derek Carr as a Saints fan. And I mean that with all due disrespect. You dig? So, that's Derek Carr. But when it comes to the Saints, I'm like, dude, you're sitting in the second round. Your biggest issue in terms of holes that needed to be filled. You drafted an offensive lineman in the first round because, let's keep it real, Trevor Penning, he's on the clock. He has bust written all over him. And Cesar Ruiz, he kind of bust too. But, you drafted an offensive lineman in the first round. You drafted an offensive lineman. I ain't gonna lie, the offensive line trash. So, all right, I'm cool with that. But in the second round, you draft a quarterback and it's not Sheduer Sanders. Like, what the F are we doing here? So you cannot tell me it's about football. You can't make me believe this about football. All 32 teams passed on this board 4 times, at least. Every team that had a full allotment of draft picks. You cannot tell me this boy is a 5th-round quarterback. I don't give a F what you say. Now, I don't get it. Now, I'm going to keep it a buck. When he did come to A.W. Mumford Stadium and they played against Southern, he didn't have the kind of weapons he had his last year at Jackson State and the last couple of years at Colorado. But even with that being said, he's better than a 5th-round quarterback. He's better than a 4th-round quarterback. He's damn for sure better than a 3rd-round quarterback. He should have been at least drafted in no later in the 2nd round. Highest second pick. So players slide from the 1st round to the 2nd round, cool. But him to slide all the way to the 5th round, man, to me is a conspiracy theory. I think they blackballed and blacklisted him. I think the NFL intentionally pushed him down to the 5th round. Is a quote-unquote teachable moment to show you, hey, boy, you keep your mouth shut. you and your pappy. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I don't care what nobody said. I think this is a concerted move by the NFL to blackball and blacklist him and to show him he need to be a good boy. He need to stay in line. I think this is buck breaking at his finest. And at the end of the day, not only that, if he, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, if he gets out of line, you got drafted in the 5th round. Like, we don't need the headaches. We're gonna cut you. So I think this what it was. I think this what this entire situation was by the NFL. You know, anytime you black and you vocal and you wear chains, gold chains, and you outspoken, you didn't have to be a criminal or a thug or anything like that. They're still gonna view you as cocky, as arrogant. They need to humble you. They need to shut you up. You know, you can kind of look at the same thing going all the way back to Jack Johnson in boxing, and you could point at a handful of examples of this over the years. You can even point at his daddy when he was a player. You know, they don't like this vocal, outspoken, confident black man, and to them, you arrogant, you cocky, and they won't humble you, and they won't buck break you, and they won't break you down.
Okay, I hear you, Coach. One question I have for you is that I recount you saying that originally, before the draft even happened, that you didn't think that you guys were going to get Sheduer because he may not, he's not mobile enough, or he's not the type of quarterback archetype to fit your offense. And you
Well,
just
actually,
mentioned,
I don't mean to
yeah,
cut you off.
correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
some of those points you made, I think you merging some of my talking points and some of Brett Fox talking points together.
Okay.
You're right to a certain degree. My thing was, you know, I remember when he first came to Jackson State and they came to A.W. Mumford Stadium in Baton Rouge and played against Southern. To me, I felt like, I think he's mobile to a certain extent. He's not like Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick type athletic, or even Randall Cunningham, but I think he has a certain degree of mobility. My thing was, I felt like he does a good job going through his progression quickly. I think he gets rid of the ball quickly. I think his arm strength is mid. I think his athletic ability is a little bit better than average. What I said was, in terms of him being a first-round pick, when he came to A.W. Mumford Stadium, he didn't blow me away like Steve Air McNair did in like 93-ish when he came to A.W. Mumford Stadium. So that was my litmus test. I was comparing Sheduer to Steve Air McNair. But in terms of if he's sitting there in the first round, like, nah, I wouldn't get him in the first round. But him sitting at the same spot in the second round, hell yeah, I would have took him. As opposed to what you got, because the player you ended up drafting from Louisville, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I saw some of the combine footage and pro day footage. I'm like, man, this what this boy drafted? Because, you know, major shout out to my brother Cadillac Red Supreme Beast Boxing Talk. He pointed this out. And I'm not gonna lie, I think me and him kind of echo the same sentiments in terms of, you know, I remember when you know they ended up changing regimes and Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis and everybody ended up coming to town, and they had an opportunity to get Drew Brees and Dante Culpepper. And I'm not even gonna lie, Cadillac Red said the exact same thing I was saying at the same time. I was thinking, because, you know, Aaron Brooks, he had a lot of potential. He's from the same area that Allen Iverson and Michael Vick's from, that Norfolk area. And I'm not gonna even lie, like, you know, I'm like, man, this dude, he started out good, and then he got a bag of money, $6 million a year, $36 million deal. You know, he got the big head, he got cocky, he got arrogant, and then he started doing dumb shit. And then his defense mechanism when he fucked up was, instead of him putting his head down and moping, he would just always smile. And it got to a point where it pissed Saints fans off because, you know, a lot of times when he was smiling, it wasn't that he was happy he screwed up. Like, his smile was his defense mechanism. And people didn't understand that. I understood what he was doing, but the optics of it just made it look bad. So once they got rid of him, I'm like, look, bro, they need to get Dante Culpepper. But the Saints doctors and Saints physicians would not pass his physical. So they ended up going with Drew Brees. And the irony is Nick Saban wanted Drew Brees in Miami. And the Miami Dolphins team doctors did not pass Drew Brees because, you know, at the end of the year, he had rotator cuff surgery. I mean, he had a rotator cuff issue, but Dante Culpepper tore his ACL. And those same doctors that failed Drew Brees' showed the test in Miami. They passed Dante Culpepper's knee, and Dante Culpepper didn't make it through the rest of the season. Whereas on the flip side of it, Drew Brees ended up having a Hall of Fame career with the Saints. And all his best years were in New Orleans. Don't get me wrong, he did good in San Diego, but his best years were in New Orleans. And that whole debacle ended up leading Nick Saban back to college in Alabama, and then becoming one of the greatest college coaches of all time. And I guarantee you, those team doctors that passed Dante Culpepper and failed Drew Brees, I know they ended up getting fired along with Nick Saban leaving. But at the end of the day, I was more in favor of Sheduer than the quarterback they ended up getting. But I felt like it purely was racial. Now, unless the situation ended up being a Drew Brees.
Now, let me ask you this: just to reintroduce the question again, what ended up changing your mind? Because originally, when we talked back, off stage, you said originally you didn't want Sheduer Sanders and Nola because of contract, and your O line is trash right now.
Yeah,
so at one point, okay, this is ridiculous. We should have. We need a quarterback.
Well, let me clarify my position.
Right.
The offensive line does have more. Really, the whole team collectively as a whole has more holes than Swiss cheese. Let's be clear. So the offensive line issue is definitely an issue. The defense is older. You got a lot of older players like Cam Jordan, like DeMario Davis, like Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. So my thing was, like, we have too many holes to draft a quarterback in the first round. But if that same quarterback is sitting there at the same position in the second round, I'm cool. Look, I'm not willing to take him in the first round, but hell, I'm taking him in the second round. He's still there. And not only that, he was there in the third round, and he was there again in the fourth round. So at the end of the day, once you took the quarterback, the old quarterback from Louisville, you can't draft two quarterbacks. Like the Washington Commanders did years ago with RG3 and other old boy Kirk Cousins. But at the same token, like, I didn't want Sheduer in the first round, but hell, if he's sitting there in the second round, hell yeah, I want him. And it kind of goes to Cadillac Red's point, unless this ends up being a Drew Brees, Dante Culpepper situation. At the end of the day, I kind of already was a proponent of firing Mickey Loomis, but I don't think Gil Benson is going to ever do it. Him and Sean Payton and Drew Brees and that entire collective, they brought the New Orleans Saints the only Super Bowl winning franchise history. So I think she's a certain degree of loyalty to him, the way her husband, Tom Benson, did. But I'm going to keep it real. It's time for Mickey Loomis to go, for you to keep reloading the team every year like Drew Brees is still in the building. Dude, Drew Brees been retired for some years now. And for you to be like so many $1 million over the salary cap every year at the end of the season, going in the next season, like, bro, you don't have a playoff caliber team. You're not a Super Bowl contender. So quit re-signing all of these old-ass, faded-ass veterans that's literally in the twilight of their career. You need to restructure that defense and go with new young dogs. And not only that, but you need to get rid of Derek Carr ass, and you need to get to your quarterback for the future. I'm not gonna lie, this boy they got from Louisville, he ain't that guy to me. I think Sheduer would have been that guy. Even if it didn't pan out, I still would have been better taking Sheduer over this cat here. So that was my position. I didn't want to take him in the first round because I felt like we had too many holes. But hell, he's sitting there in the second round. Hell yeah, I wanted it. With a second round pick, not with a first round pick.
Okay, I hear you. JB and Big Joe, even Brent, because you're we're gonna get to you next. What's your feedback, if you have any, on that? Any one of y'all brothers can go take it if y'all want to go first.
Absolutely zero, because coach individually does not have any control over who the New Orleans Saints draft. So yeah,
correct. But we still, as a fan, we gotta see where your mind is at. But
I see what you're doing, Brent. I see you. I ain't got. Hey, shout out to Coach. Yeah, man. No, I definitely understand. When you can have a quarterback all day long, but if you don't have an O line, then you can't really protect your star player. So,
Yeah, we don't want Shador to
but
end up like David Carr. But go ahead.
right, right, for sure, but depth, but like, for the Saints to not draft Shador for whatever reason, and then instead they took Tyler. I don't know his last name. I don't want to butcher his last name, but
I
but
call him Tyler
hey,
Sourdough.
that's who they took, and when it's my turn, I'm gonna cook on, all these guys who went before Shador. So hey, shout out to Coach.
Yeah, yeah. Coach did explain his position as a fan. We know he's not an owner, he ain't, but still, like we have fans out here talking crazy. Um, JB, what was your thoughts on what Coach said or the Saints?
And that was a very good point um, by Coach as far as reassuring the offensive line. To be fair, this is what a lot of Ravens fans, a lot of them are in the chat. Coach, Sip Tally, and the rest of the brothers. Uh, we wanted the O line at first, but we got a safety. But we made up for that in the later rounds. However, in the second round, they picked Tyler Show, but I'm gonna call him Tyler Sourdough until he proves different. I've seen him at Louisville. I was not impressed. Louisville got a lot of weapons, a lot of speed, a lot of weapons on the offensive side, on the skill position to make any quarterback look good. Okay, so I think the Saints will be picking top 5 next year. And as for the Steelers, well, I'm gonna wait till Brent go because I'm gonna destroy. I got my Raven hat on now, but I'm gonna take it off. Let me put my just football hat on.
No, let it out.
Without bias. I think that the Steelers gonna mess around and get Mike
There's a
Tomlin
lot of
fired.
static going on your end, JB.
No,
Can you
he
hear me
said
now?
he's going to mess around and get Coach Tomlin fired. For those that didn't hear,
Right. They're gonna miss because we've seen Mike Tomlin, and this is me being because I want to trash the Steelers, but I don't have my Ravens hat on right now. I have my football hat on. We've seen Mike Tomlin win 8 to 9 games with Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges, and all the rest of the dudes they got from Kmart or HEB. Okay? Imagine what they do, what he'll do with a not Deion, but a Sheduer Sanders. And it kind of scared me because they have all the pieces in place to me. They have 2 position receivers, Metcalf, DK, and they got the George boy,
George Pickens.
George Pickens. They have a good tight end, and they're going to be able to run the ball. Whoever they got back there, Warren, and I think they picked Caleb Johnson, I believe,
From Iowa, yeah.
So they're going to be able to run the ball. The only issue y'all had last year, because Russell Wilson did not play bad for y'all. However, the only weapon y'all had, y'all didn't have any contested catch receivers or deep ball receivers other than George Pickens. So y'all had a lot of 3 and outs, and then at the end of the year, the defense got burnt out. We seen that in the playoffs. The defense burnt out, and when we started whooping y'all ass, because y'all couldn't really score on offense. And Russell Wilson just did what he could. He's not the Russell Wilson of old. He's not going to scramble around like he did when he was with the Seahawks. Them days are gone. But he was sufficient enough for y'all to make the playoffs. if y'all get Sheduer, if y'all would have got Sheduer, I think y'all probably would be in the race with Baltimore of winning the division. Now that y'all picked who y'all picked?
Howard.
Y'all picked Will Howard. Now let me tell y'all about Will Howard. Even though he's not a starter right now, because he doesn't have a strong arm either, right? He doesn't have a strong arm either.
Have you watched? Just curious. I don't want to interrupt completely. Have you watched film for Will Howard? I know that you saw the championship game, correct?
JB, mute something on your end, because I think you got two things. You got your live open and then something else playing, so you need to turn something off.
I got nothing open. I'm just.
It's bad static.
No,
Go ahead.
My fault. But Will Howard, like, just look at if you look at the QB comparisons by the NFL, right? Because I'm going by what everybody's saying about Sheduer. They saying he doesn't have a strong arm. But if you look at the NFL comparison and breakdown from Will Howard, they say he doesn't have a strong arm either. Okay? So that's why I know everybody is lying. Not you in particular, because let me say something. Will Howard may be good in a couple of years. He's not good now because he does make bad decisions. Okay? I just think if y'all are waiting on Aaron Rodgers, y'all are some idiots. And if y'all start, I would rather start Will Howard. And if y'all start Aaron Rodgers, this is the year where the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to get Mike Tomlin fired. Because some of y'all fans want that anyway. Okay? Y'all had y'all franchise quarterback right there. And y'all played business games, I like to say. That's just my opinion. Now, a couple of years from now, because this is all just projection, we just talking football. A couple of years from now, Will Howard might be the man. He might be a good football player and lead Pittsburgh to glory. Who knows? But as of right now, I don't see it. I don't know what the hell Pittsburgh was thinking. I understand what Coach is saying about the Saints, but they dumb as well. They had their franchise quarterback in the second round as well. So, and then that's enough about that. I want to hear the rest of Brent's and the rest of the brothers.
Well, we because we let Coach talk first about his Saints, and you just gave your, you went right into the Steelers. Damn, JB. Brent, go ahead and give your explanation of why you think Sheduer Sanders wasn't a fit and why you didn't think your Steelers didn't pick him.
Okay. First and foremost, thank you, JB, for your input, sir. You my brother, and I appreciate you. For real. And I know that, you were putting on your football hat and you just had to give that sort of take on it. So I had to actually go back and do a little bit of research as to why maybe Sheduer was not picked up. Again, the disclaimer for me individually, Brent Fox, is I have no authority or no control over whom the Pittsburgh Steelers pick. Now, having said that, I'm going to use an 8-mile tactic. Is Sheduer better than Will Howard? Yes. Film verifies that. You can look at his particular stats, and to some degree, I think Sheduer has a higher QBR rating for regular season than Will Howard did. So those two particular aspects on paper, yes, the logical choice would be Sheduer Sanders. Sheduer Sanders, and I was educated on this, actually now holds passing records for Colorado. Thank you, Joe Townsend, for educating me on that. Unfortunately, Will Howard does not hold any passing records for Ohio State. Now, I'm sorry, y'all. Real life situation, real life person, man. My son just came here. Anyway,
You good, bro?
the though with that in mind is
Your son came in here. He know you about to say some bull crap. Go ahead.
oh, you funny. um Anyway, is Sheduer Sanders the most logical choice at quarterback? Of course. But what I would say is this: Arthur Smith is our offensive coordinator. If you look at film for Arthur Smith's offenses, they are run first, double tight end, or sometimes even triple tight end formations. Some of that, or a significant amount of that, is under center. There is not any verifiable film, and this dates back from high school. There's not a whole lot of film of Sheduer Sanders faking handoffs, turning around, and then throwing it. All right. That's an adjustment that he may have to actually get used to. Will Howard, on the other hand, does have experience with heavy run offenses via K-State and also Ohio State. There's a size differential, of course. As far as the arm situation goes, there's a side-by-side film. Well, I wouldn't say side-by-side film study. What I would encourage is for people to actually look at film and see how these particular balls, Paul, are being placed and like what velocity they're being placed at before someone says that someone has a weak arm. And having mentioned that, what I do want to do is issue an apology to Sheduer Sanders. Sheduer Sanders actually has a better or stronger arm than what most people actually give him credit for. He has actually on the ball, and it makes it very, very catchable. Some people think that it actually flutters, but that's not really the case. He has a pretty good drive on the ball. It's just not as strong as some other quarterback, via Cam Ward or even Jalen Milroe. But he does have a pretty good arm as far as he does have pretty good arm strength as far as just delivering the ball to faraway spaces. And his accuracy is a lot better than Will Howard's. So yes, once again, the more logical choice at quarterback, if you're just looking at it statistically, would be Sheduer Sanders. However, the way that our offense is made up, at the risk of sounding like Kevin Hart, the way that our offense is made is we have to have someone that is able to at least fake a handoff, sometimes be able to run with the ball. Not saying that Sheduer can't do that, but Will has done it a little bit more consistently than Sheduer because he ran the ball at K-State. He also ran a little bit at Ohio State. So that mobility factor and him being able to run when necessary does help. Once again, I am not saying that Will Howard is a better quarterback. I am saying that because of those particular factors, he may be a better fit. Plus, DK Metcalf and George Pickens are deep ball threats. George Pickens is more or less known to be able to do a back shoulder fade and make very, very tough catches routinely. DK Metcalf is somebody that can split, separate the defense, and then make big plays. It is going to be rather difficult for Sheduer to try to move around because we have a very young offensive line that still needs a lot of development. So it's going to be very difficult for, again, Sheduer to be able to turn his back, maneuver, try and check the pass rush, look downfield to his reads, and then try and hit somebody. Now, I understand that all NFL quarterbacks have to go through that, Joe. I feel you talking. But again, we
I'm
just
I'm,
need
I'm just
that's
I'm
a
just eating
bit.
my snack. I'm just eating my snacks and listening, Brent. I ain't saying nothing.
No, you don't have to. I feel your energy, brother. Um, but we just need somebody that's a little bit more suited to run that type of offense. That offense does not necessarily complement Shador's skills and abilities. Shador's skills and abilities, where he is strongest, is being able to look out at a defense in front of him in the shotgun and be able to process the coverage very quickly, get the ball out to who it needs to go to, and make plays that way. We do not have an offense like that. So it would be better suited for someone who has at least a little bit of experience with an offense in which it's run heavy, and then you're used to having to run as a result, and not just basically run for your life because the offensive line isn't blocking worth a damn. But that's what I have to actually say about that. That's it, man. That's all I got.
Okay. Before I let JB or well, I'm gonna let Big Joe and go first, and then Coach, and maybe JB. We got anything else to say? Well, your reasoning is well educated. Well, great points. Here's my only pushback, and I'm gonna use one word: adjustment. Adjustment. You said that basically Sheduer Sanders doesn't fit your offense. He has the ability, to scan the defense out the shotgun and read the defense out the shotgun. Um, and some of the basically your scheme, your Pittsburgh Steelers scheme, it doesn't fit Sheduer. So when I use the word adjustment is Lamar Jackson. Do you when we drafted Lamar Jackson, do you think we was running? We had Joe Flacco. And Lamar was running. He was running shotgun, but most of it was RPO out the shotgun. At Louisville.
Marty Morningweed.
Yeah.
That was our offensive coordinator. Then we had Greg Roman.
Yes.
So that's the coach's job, bro. That's the
So we
coach's
had
job.
to adjust. If we knew we had a winner, we was all in on Lamar Jackson, and we adjusted to his game. Look at him now. Yeah, you can bring up him not winning the Super Bowl or him choking in the playoffs, whatever rhetoric you want to throw at him. He is the most electric, and as far as all season or regular season consistent quarterback that Baltimore Ravens has had as a quarterback, and we got a lot of Baltimore Ravens fans in the chat. They can agree, and they can
I
confirm.
don't agree with that at all, to be
So
honest. And yes, it is the coach's job to actually adjust the offense to its personnel. You are right. But if that personnel is built off of being able to do one thing, and then you draft someone else that may not be suited to do that particular thing, I mean, yes, you still have to adjust it, but at the same time, you don't want to lose your offensive identity. That's my pushback.
That's true.
but you got to be willing to do that. If your offense hasn't been doing what as planned, or have been moving forward, you no longer have Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was a staple of your offense for years. You have to be willing to adjust. And just using the Lamar Jackson as an example, that's what we had to do. We had to adjust everything.
But yeah, you drafted him first round.
Yeah.
That means that he was that means that he was actually the priority. By the time that we may have been able to get to Sheduer, because remember, we don't have a second round pick. We gave that second round pick away to try to get DK. So even if we drafted Sheduer the third round, it's still a situation to where we had to prioritize somewhere else. Thank y'all very much for running all over us, because we had to pick up a defensive tackle.
Right.
But that we had to actually prioritize differently. So if we're prioritizing differently, then again, yes, the coaches do need to be able to make fluid adjustments to try to win ball games. But at the same time, you don't want to put someone in there that you're not necessarily setting up for success, because if they don't succeed, the team doesn't succeed either. And
here's the thing. I don't mean to interrupt you. You're speaking to the point where you said we were basically knew we were getting in Lamar Jackson. Not necessarily. We once we saw in a couple of games what Lamar Jackson was, and for John Harbaugh asked to keep his job, we just said, fuck it. Let's adjust to his game, because he's the best thing we have right now. And wasn't off the draft pick. It was off of what he did after we got him on the field after a couple of games. Because we went from Statue of Liberty ass Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson, who's the RPO king, who basically changed the game. Michael Vick changed the game, but Lamar Jackson put everything on steroids.
Okay.
So my only pushback is you got to be willing to change every damn thing if you want to see if it's going to work. And
here's the thing.
You can't be scared of it. Go ahead.
I disagree with you, Jared, in a little aspect. They don't have to change everything. They don't. They can still be a run first team and run that Arthur Smith offense.
Not what you do. No.
Okay. No. You can run the ball, right? With him. You gotta have certain packages, right? Y'all did it when y'all had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, right? In certain instances. But that's a running quarterback, and I think y'all messed that up because we were scared of Justin Fields. But anyway.
Yeah.
With you guys having a run first offense or whatever, man, you can y'all. You mean to tell me y'all don't got a coach that can teach Sheduer to turn around and hand it off?
Yeah, I mean, Tom Hart can only do so much. There has to, like y'all are mentioning, with the adjustment, there has to be an adjustment period for Sheduer to be able to adapt and learn these particular things. It's not going to be a situation where it's going to be fluid right away, just like with Lamar. But again, if we're going to invest in somebody like that, then yes, there has to be like a complete overhaul, because the offense that we actually have set at this point in time does not highlight his skills and natural abilities. They don't. This is a play action offense. It's a run heavy offense. And then sometimes it's a quarterback running offense. Those are not things that are really conducive to Sheduer's game. Sheduer would be very, very well suited to just be able to run a spread offense, be able to dink and dunk the ball, and then occasionally hit people over the head when their coverages draw in too much. Like that is the best situation for Sheduer. I'm looking at this from a player aspect. And then unfortunately, there's this looming cloud that is now ever present of Aaron Rodgers possibly signing over to us, which I'm y'all know I'm not a fan of, but I mean
Right.
that could also be the case as well. I mean that could be a huge factor. We don't know. Um, I hope that is not true. I would rather go with this particular group. Let me say this to be clear. I would rather go with this particular group and know what we have at quarterback rather than depend on a guy who can't even make up his damn mind whether or not he gonna play. I don't want that. You know what? I'm gonna just go off. I don't want that type of bullshit in my locker room, man. You right. To your point, if we sign Aaron Rodgers, he come in there and he fucks everything up like he will do. Yeah, Coach Tomlin's not gonna survive that. And then when Coach Tomlin is gone, then what's left of the locker room? What's gonna happen to the culture in our locker room? Um, what is the team actually gonna wind up looking like years past Aaron Rodgers coming in, fucking up the locker room and then leaving? Because we're not signing them for more than a motherfucking year. Now you talking about he willing to take $10 million and all this other shit, but you ain't brought your ass out here. You ain't signed no fucking contract. You ain't did shit like that. So us having to depend on us still wanting, a motherfucker like that. Now, no, it's not worth it is not worth the cost of your culture. It is not worth the cost of your culture. Shout out to Sanders, by the way. It's just not worth the cost of your culture. You don't need somebody that can't make up his fucking mind about what he finna do with himself. And now you want him to go out there and try to see what he could do for your team? What kind of sense that made? Like, it's not just on Coach Tomlin. I'm sick of that shit too. It's not just on Coach Tomlin. It is on Omar Khan. It is also on Mr. Rooney. As much as people love Mr. Rooney, and as much people love Omar Khan for the moves that he's making as a GM, that shit's on them too. Yeah. So I would like for us to make an official statement saying, well, hey, look, we've tried to reach out to Aaron on several occasions. We know and understand and want to be sensitive to his situation, but we're moving on. I mean, that is the best course of action, to be honest with you, at this point in time. I don't give a fuck how good people think that he is, and he's a 4-time MVP and he's a future Hall of Famer. Not if it costs me my goddamn locker room. You could take your ass on somewhere else, smoke ayahuasca, hide in a fucking cave for 9 years. I don't give a fuck what you do. Just don't do it here. Just don't fucking do it here. Shit. Sick of this motherfucker, man. Damn.
Well,
I ain't no Brett Fox. I ain't no Brett Fox cuss. Good Lord have mercy. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. So that Pleasant Grove kind of came out of it, man. Whenever I'm touched by a whole ass nigga like Aaron Rodgers, man, it just does something to me, man.
Hey, I feel you. I feel you. You know what? Actually, you might cuss me out in a minute. I got some questions for you. So,
boy, that was slick as hell, boy.
Got some questions for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
go ahead.
In the words of Stephen A. Smith, I heard you go on your little soliloquy. You said a lot of things. About what may work for you, won't work for you, our style of offense, and what's best for our team, and what's gonna be better for us. Okay. That all that sounds great. I got a question for you, brother Brent. Do you guys run a West Coast offense?
No, we do not.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. Do you run a West Coast offense or a variation of the West Coast offense? Because I looked it up and it says y'all run a variation of a West Coast offense. So it sounds like you do.
I don't know what source you got that from, but Arthur Smith. Hold on. The Arthur Smith based offense that we actually run is a run zone. It's a zone run offense with players. It is not a variation of the West Coast offense.
Well, from what I researched, it says you run a variation of West Coast offense. Okay, So
That's not something
Shador, well,
y'all.
okay, brother. Oh, okay, brother. So so Sheduer Sanders, he pretty much played in the West Coast offense. So if you played in the West Coast offense, then you should be able to handle any of the variations of the West Coast offense. Okay, that's one. Second of all, going by, shotgun underneath the center and all that kind of stuff. This is where your player development comes into play. And I believe the Steelers have an organization where player development is highly important. That's why you have strong leaders in your locker room. You have, TJ Watts and the Cam Haywards and all that kind of stuff. So player development is a big thing. This is where coaches earn their money, developing players. Regardless if he played shotgun for how many years, any quarterback can be taught. And from my understanding, Shador is a coach's son, and he can pretty much be coached. He's willing to be coached, from what I've seen and from what I've heard. So he can be taught to be underneath the center. He can be taught to do things the Steeler way, because nobody out of college is a finished product. That goes for Shador, and that even goes for Will Howard. But even you said yourself, Shador is a better player than Will Howard.
Correct.
So his ceiling is way higher than Will Howard's. He's also been know what it's like to be a pro more than Will Howard. He may not have a national championship, but he definitely has the genetics of a Super Bowl champion. I know that for sure.
Mm.
So also, I feel like Shador would have been a good pick for y'all because I'm surprised you ain't bringing this up. Shador to me reminds me a lot of Ben Roethlisberger. Tall, slow release, kind of like a statue, good pocket presence, doesn't run that well. But at the end of the day, you call in a number, they can get the job done. Ben Roethlisberger was not the best when he came out of Miami of Ohio. He was not the best thrower. He literally handed the ball pretty much to Jerome Bettis and got things done. It took him a while for him to turn into the quarterback that he was.
And Willie
Sheduer
Parker.
Sanders is already a good thrower already. So you just add a little more to it, and you got yourself a Ben Roethlisberger 2.0. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I would agree with some of it. Well, what I would say is that we are attempting to move on from a Ben Roethlisberger-esque type person, and I know you're finna go there with Will Howard, but again, we needed someone that is actually proven to be mobile and able to run with the football at quarterback. Go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers don't run though.
Not no more.
Does Aaron Rodgers run now?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
okay, I got you. Long story short, you feel like Shador wasn't the best fit? No problem. That's how you feel, brother. I totally 100% disagree with you. Because Shador is somebody, again, that can be coached, who's willing to learn, who's played in multiple offenses, and he's even thrived having different offensive coordinators pretty much every year he's been in college. So not only he hasn't regressed, he's only gotten better since he's been in college. So, but yeah, that's all you, brother. Hey, good luck this year. Good luck this year. Back to you, Jared.
That good look this year took me out. Oh, that.
You coming from Tommy Strong of the NFL. You ain't got no team, man.
Yeah, because I know when to cut bait, homie. That's why.
Boy, I love it, Joe. I love it, boy. Boy, that Bayside player, boy, that Yay area player just came right on out, man. That was slick.
Hey, real quick, in defense of my brother Brent Fox, I also agree that they should have taken Shador. I definitely think he made a solid case for why they didn't take him. But in terms of the West Coast offense thing, you got to realize every West Coast offense don't look like the Bill Walsh West Coast offense with Joe Montana and Steve Young. At one point, you had Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss and Chris Carter. That was a West Coast offense. Supposedly the greatest show on turf was the West Coast offense. So the West Coast offense could look like a variety of things. It could be a run-heavy offense. It could be a spread offense. It could be whatever. So that West Coast offense dynamic. A variety of different offenses look like the West Coast offense, and they are not similar in no way, shape, form, or fashion. So, so people saying that the Steelers offense is a variation of it, man, anything like West Coast offense, really and truly. So,
Hey, coach. Hey,
yes, sir.
coach.
Excellent point,
When
too,
you
Big
when
Joe.
you, when you make any Cajun recipe, you gotta start with the Trinity, right?
Say that again, bro.
When you cook any Cajun recipe, you gotta have the Trinity, right? You gotta have your
Mhm.
your onions and your celery and all that. So as long as you got the Trinity, you can cook pretty much anything. So long as you have the basics, no matter what variation you can do, you can make it work, right?
Yeah, well, Big
Okay,
Joe.
okay,
No. I'm
okay.
gonna keep it a buck. You made excellent points also, and like I said, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I kind of feel like they should have took Sheduer personally, and in fact, in all actuality, I think a bunch of teams in the NFL draft should have taken Sheduer, but I think Brother Brent he made a solid case, but you know,
I, right.
I don't want to sound like I'm straddling the fence, but I think y'all
Uh,
both made valid points. If I had to lean between one or two of y'all, I would lean a little bit more your way, his way, but I think he made a solid case for why they didn't draft him.
right, right. Let me say this too. I hear you, coach. One thing we got to get back to, it don't matter what offense you run or what offense you played in college. Can you play football? Yes or no? That's the main question. You can be taught anything when you get to the pros. When you come out of college, you're pretty much an open canvas. You have some things that that can translate to the NFL, but that's when your player development comes into play. So at the end of the day, can you play football or not? You can play football, they can teach you the rest. Nobody comes to the league knowing what they're doing. So at the end of the day, can he ball or not? And Sheduer Sanders can ball. Can he ball better than Will Howard? Absolutely. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very valid point because at what point if you look at somebody like I don't know, maybe like an Andre Ware, like whoever, like certain guys that ran spread offenses in like, especially if they ran one in the late '80s, maybe like the early '90s. At no point did some of those guys ever get under center, you know. And when they got to the NFL, they had to be able to be coached to run a pro style offense in terms of being able to get under center and run play action fakes and this, that, and the third. So I think you're right from the standpoint of I think Sheduer is more than able and capable of learning, that particular offense. And at the end of the day, honestly, even with the Steelers, I don't think it's more so what he's capable of from a X and O standpoint of what he has between his ears. I really think it's a legitimate hit piece in terms of just the fact that the most of the league blackballed him. And I think they're trying to come up with ways and rationalize and justify their rationale for not taking him. But at the end of the day, like you really can't convince me that Will Howard is he might be a better fit for their team or their offense than him. But Sheduer is clearly a better player, and in that particular scenario, I take a better player.
Definitely hear you. Little Bucket, this first time me seeing you, bro. I'm not gonna drop the link. I'm sorry, bro. Maybe I can make a show in the future where I drop the link, but too many weirdos be hopping on people's lives and showing their privates and I'll fuck around curse one of y'all out.
Yeah, especially on these LDBC platforms. I don't know what it is, y'all anti-LDBC individuals. We're not saying it's you, Little Bucket, but we just saying some of these weirdos are anti-LDBC and we ain't willing to take that type of risk at this point.
Right. But
Yeah.
welcome. You welcome.
And
If you're here to be genuine, go ahead.
what I was gonna say, little bucket, was just keep coming on the show, and then if we're able to build some sort of trust, we still gonna have to. There's still a verification process, but maybe eventually, we may consider putting you on. But yeah, we can't do that right away, little bucket. We sorry.
Yeah,
Well, we
yeah,
not
yeah.
sorry. That's just
Basically,
what it is.
what the brother saying in Little Bucket is you got to earn some stripes, you did.
Yeah. exactly. And LDBC brothers can hop on like a Condo or Grow with Soul, or not just people like Sip the Tally, J the Six, Brandon, Big Reg, Anthony Bolton, all them, because they've been rocking before, and Autism Boy, but
Nah, Condo got to eat a baconator before he can come on here.
but y'all, man, yeah, it's I just want to hear y'all thoughts. I just and teach his own, teach his own. I just felt like, um, especially Pittsburgh, I definitely believe that he would have been, um, he would have done well with y'all, with a okay offensive line, decent offensive line. Um, since Coach explained his reason, yeah, the Saints offensive line, um, it probably been another David Carr, so that may have been a blessing in disguise. Not being drafted with the Saints.
Yeah, but to you all's point, um, I will admit that my Steelers uh, may have been complicit in not drafting it
Oh,
like we were supposed to. I ain't gonna pull no punches on it. Um, because yes, to the point that I made earlier, um, Sheduer Sanders is a better quarterback than Will Howard. Um, but yeah, I just we should have probably pulled the trigger on either him or Jalen Milroe. If we pulled the trigger on Milroe, then I'd probably understand. But if we didn't pull the trigger on either, but to our point, I mean, to the point, we actually wound up pulling up Caleb Johnson. And then when Johnson got drafted, Seattle drafted Milroe right after that. But since we didn't draft either one of those, yeah, that's still a failure on our part.
Yeah, and one other point to your Saints offensive line. Most of the season, Eric McCoy, the Saints starting center, he was out most of the year. Pro Football Focus had him being like a top 5 offensive lineman, and I think, when those first 2 games when he played, and the Saints was able to run the ball extremely well with Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill, like they look like a completely different team. But once he got hurt in the Eagles game, and Taysom Hill got hurt the week before, like offensively, the Saints wasn't the same team, and Derek Carr really got exposed for without having a running game that he could play action off. He went from being like a minus quarterback to a D minus quarterback. That's how trash he was. And I think as long as Eric McCoy is there to stabilize the offensive line, I think the Saints will be straight in terms of the offensive line play, because every other offensive lineman besides Eric McCoy, they all first round picks, but Trevor Penning and Cesar Ruiz, they both have bust written all over them. I think Ruiz a little bit better than Penning. Penning, they drafted recently, and they drafted offensive lineman first round this year and last year. So really, outside of McCoy, all the other 4 offensive linemen are first round picks, but they don't play that way. But I feel like as long as Eric McCoy is there to hold it down, I think that's why I think drafting Sheduer would have been, a good fit. Being that if Eric McCoy is healthy, but Eric McCoy not healthy, the offensive line is not the same. But I still think they should have taken Sheduer. But more than anything, I think it was a blackball thing by the NFL. But
yeah,
I
definitely
enjoyed
was.
this show. Everybody did an excellent job in terms of articulating their points and their perspective and point of view. So this was a great show.
It definitely was a great show, and before we wrap it up, thanks to Big Joe. He sent an article. He sent 2 articles. One basically saying there were rumors that the son of Falcons coordinator Jeff Ulbrich son was the one that did the prank call. If y'all are viewers of Well Off Media, you saw that Sheduer Sanders had a prank call while he was waiting to see if he would get drafted, and it was a prank. So now it's just confirmed, thanks to Big Joe sending the reference, that it was the son of Jeff Ulbrich. The reason why they caught him is because nobody has that number that the prank was done on. Uh, only like the NFL folks who was trying to analyze Sheduer Sanders had that number, and Jeff Ulbrich wasn't. I don't know if he gave the son his number or wasn't. Who cares? The son got a number and was the one that did the prank call. So I'm interested to see what's going to be done because
Well,
that
well,
that
so
was whack.
this is what happened according to the article. So for clarification for everybody, Sheduer Sanders got a phone line to where only GMs and only owners of the team have that number.
Right.
So every NFL team, every NFL owner had that number. Nobody else had that number. No women, no friends. This is specifically an NFL phone for draft night. Because a lot of times during draft night, you sitting there, your friends is texting you, your girl maybe, well, your other chicks may be texting you. You got folks saying, "Hey man, how you doing?" So everybody's flooding your phone, and you waiting for this phone call, and it could, there's some players who missed the phone call because they didn't recognize the area code, or they thought somebody else was calling. So he got a separate phone line, so he know what it is when somebody's calling him. So how the son, again, defensive coordinator for the Falcons, how his son got the phone number was that his father had a tablet that was open, his iPad that was open,
Mm,
where it had contact numbers and everything, and the kid purposely, not on accident, not whoopsie doodle, he went over there, found Shador's number, and wrote it down, took it down, screenshot it, whatever. So on draft day, he purposefully, not on accident, not a whoopsie, he called him on purpose to prank him, to humiliate him, because we all saw what he was going through. You dig what I'm saying? That's what the article wrote. Is that really what happened? Who knows? But that's what it said in the article. He took down the number and maliciously called him. Of course, the kid came out and apologized. I'm sorry. Da da da. I made a bad mistake. Whoopsie doodle. Whatever. And the Falcons had to make a statement. All that kind of stuff. No word on what's going to happen to the head coach. By them saying the tablet was open, the son took it down. That kind of alleviates the father. But who knows what might happen? So
No,
we'll
they
see.
probably get fired for that. Like if your kid get a hold of the information for the company or whatever, and they do something crazy, you get fired for that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh no. Oh no. I hear you. But
ain't that? Hold on, all my business folk brothers on here. Ain't that a violation of HIPAA?
yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well,
I'm
and
right there with you.
even if you're a teacher, if is a student and that happens, is a violation of FERPA and HIPAA. So if you're a teacher in that situation, you down for sure getting fired. Ain't no two ways about it. You can't claim, well, hey, I didn't do it. Oh no, they're gonna ask you. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, but
Mhm.
from what I saw online, they said the kid allegedly is a student at Ole Miss, from what
Yep,
I understand. So I don't know.
he is. No, he is. He's at Ole
No,
Miss, and he actually plays sports at Ole Miss too. I think he plays on some sport team at Ole Miss.
And and
Mhm.
and being at Ole Miss, we know Ole Miss has a reputation for being, you know, extremely racist and that type of thing. So,
yeah,
man,
my
I don't see. Just saying,
yes,
hey,
that's
ha ha ha, we
confirmed.
just gave a fun prank. This is a malicious type bull crap, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a confirmed yes. Hey, speaking of Oxford, one of my first memories was going to Oxford, Mississippi, where Ole Miss is, and they got like a little town square. That town square, back in probably what 85, something like that, is full of Confederate flags. They still call themselves the rebels, right? Or did they get rid of that name?
Oh no, they
I think
Because
still
they, I think
rebels.
uh,
right?
I think they're still the Rowdy Rebels or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
No, they
Yeah,
still
they
rebels.
the rebels forever. And then they had what you call it, they had they had Colonel Sanders with a pimp cane on the side of their helmet and all of that, man. It was wild. Now, but yeah, they're to your point, coach. That is my first memory of what racism really was. So yes, thank you, Mississippi.
Yeah. And the reason why it could be a violation of HIPAA, even though HIPAA is mostly for health reason, that computer he probably viewed like records of Sheduers, if because the scouts have to see if he's have any injuries or any health issues or anything like that. So the son, while trying to get that number, probably saw all that shit.
He did. He did. And ain't nothing finna happen to him or his dad. They issued an apology. That should be good enough.
Yeah, if it was anybody else, they'd be gone.
Yeah, if it was anybody else, they'd be gone. Like if it was old buddy from the Browns, that black GM from the Browns, he'd be as soon as they found out it was coming from him. And ding 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 ding. Browns GM fired. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I don't doubt it. They the six said they dumbasses recorded themselves doing it. Really?
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah. That's how they knew who it was. They recorded themselves doing it and put it on social media. It spread like wildfire, and they tried to get it taken down, but too many people had it. That's how they identified that it
Wait,
was
ho,
the
ho,
son.
ho, ho, ho. So they, why'd you fucking put it on social media?
I'm glad they did it. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is no.
how stupid.
But Jared. They talk about that to black folks all the time. We record ourselves doing crimes all day long, right? So now when somebody else do it, hey, keep doing your thing. I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm glad they did it. Now we know who it is.
yeah, exactly.
True.
Wow, they put it on social media.
That's how it is for
Bright
clout.
young man. The future's bright, ladies and gentlemen. Future's bright.
Hey,
Um,
hey. But Jared, can I say something, bro?
go ahead.
Everybody got to give their take on Shador. I didn't get to go, brother. I mean,
Go ahead.
unless we press for time. I know, bro. I know it's Sunday. Brothers got, they got wives and kids coming in the room. I'm just want to make sure,
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead,
Go
Joe.
ahead. Cause you
Go,
did.
Joe.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Yes,
So
go, Joe. Go
Okay,
get it.
okay. Let me drink some water real quick.
Okay, Reverend Do Dirty.
I want to make sure everybody can hear me clearly. So back to piggyback on what Coach was saying, it was a hit piece for sure. There was an arrangement. It was conversations. There was collusion involved to try to humble, to try to show meekness, to try to teach somebody a lesson. Because if you're watching NFL draft, the word humble got thrown around a whole lot. Now they can say it was interviews, they can say whatever they want to say. But I've been around the league for a while. I've known agents, I know players who currently play and all that kind of stuff. And some of them ain't the brightest in the world. And I know some of them probably didn't do the best interviews. So I'm not buying that excuse that, interview was the reason why he didn't get picked. It's a lot bigger than that because literally they said, oh, look at Sheduer there's a picture of him at the scouting combine. He wearing his hat backward, answering questions. Look at him wearing his hat backwards. Look at him. No respect. Da da da. You saw a picture of Jackson Dart. Guess what? He wearing his hat backwards. Nobody said a word. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about what they said about Sheduer because everybody's getting on Sheduer. And this, and that, and the third. I'm here to talk about everybody else who got drafted before him. This is who I'm here to talk about. Because everybody loves to highlight Sheduer's problems and what he can do. Well, I want to know what everybody else can do too. I mean, let's make it all equal, please. Let's make it equal for everybody. I want to know your skeletons too, since you want to know all of mine. You dig what I'm saying? So we have here Jackson Dart from good old Ole Miss. You dig what I'm saying? His NFL comparisons is Gardner Minshew. Anybody is Gardner Minshew a starting quarterback or somebody who you can put your franchise on?
no, sir.
I don't think so, because he was with the Raiders, and he's the reason why Antonio Pierce got fired. So Gardner Minshew, he went in the first round, got drafted, This is what's on him. I'm going to read his overview and his weaknesses. Since everybody want to talk about Sheduer weaknesses, I got time today. Um, my man, he's a 3-year starter from the SEC who saw improvement in play and production season after season. Dart has a stocky build and an average physical attributes, but good makeup and intangibles. He's fairly accurate and rarely overcomplicate things for himself. He won't strike anyone as a running quarterback. Interesting, 'cause that's what everybody said. That's what he does. Anyways, but he can find tough yards on the ground. He can make full field reads, but looks more comfortable grazing from the trout of the pocket. He will need to work with better anticipation and decisiveness. So that means he can't process stuff real that quickly because the running thing on black quarterback is they can't think that fast. Anyways, decisiveness to win in tight windows as a pro. Teams might see physical and similar and play similarities between Dart and Brock Purdy. But he won the first round. Anyways, but such a pathway for Dart likely requires a balanced, ball control passing attack that allows him to manage the game instead of driving it. But this is the guy you pick in the first round. What is Jackson Dart's weaknesses? Has problem with deep zone coverage, slow to momentum and consistency. Has room for improvement with throws versus zone. Lazy footwork forces him into muscle throws at times. Displayed inconsistencies with decisiveness and reads. Lacks delivery or quickness to afford get behind on progressions. Throws feel very labored when he's forced to work off platform. Deep throws lack energy and forces receivers to break stride. Now, I believe somebody was talking about Sheduer's arm strength. But the guy who went over him, deep throws lack energy and force receivers to break stride. Anyway, okay. That's Jackson Dart. Now we're going to go to coach's team. I'm sorry, coach. We got Tyler from my alma mater of Louisville. You dig what I'm saying? He doesn't have a comparison to anybody right now. This is his overview. He's a pocket passer with a 7-year college career. 7 years. Good Lord. Shout out to COVID. 7-year college career prompted by 3 consecutive years of injuries while at Texas Tech. He will turn 26 in September. Was in the same recruiting class as Trevor Lawrence, and he backed up Justin Herbert at Oregon. He's a talented passer with a live arm who is capable of making pro throws, both intermediate and deep, but battles inconsistency, which means he can't do it on a regular basis. He plays with good field vision, using his eyes to hold defenders and set up his throwing windows. He is confident and accurate when protected, but will flinch when pressure mounts, leading to spy decision making, and big sacks. His size and passing talent will be enticing, but durability and mobility concerns are impediments he will need to overcome. Now, I believe Shannon Sharpe always says, if you always hurt in college, you're going to be hurt in the NFL. Anyways, his weaknesses: sluggish operation time, working quick game throws, lacks poise and mobility to overcome turbulent pocket, which means he doesn't have a good pocket presence. Occasional issues allowing routes to unwind and develop, falls way off delivery when pressure is mounting in front of him. Gunslinger mentality brings occasional lapses in decision making. Not enough extend and wins when flushed from the pocket, meaning he can't create his own plays. And he missed substantial time due to injuries in 2021, 22, and 23. All right. I hate to do
Big Joe.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I have an NFL comparison. You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
He reminds me of old ass college version of Derek Carr.
Lord hammer. Oh, hey.
What the hell is this? That sounded like a dumbass decision to me. Sound like Sheduer would have been a better fit in that area there. I'm just being honest. You know?
I'm just reading to you what they wrote. Hey. Sound like so. I hate to do this to you, because I love.
Don't it sound like that to you?
Hey.
A 7-year college quarterback who's injury prone, who basically without a good running game can't do shit. He sounds like an old college version of Derek Carr to me. That's what he sounds like. I'm saying, you know.
Hey. I hate this to you. I hate to do this to you, but we got my dog Jalen Milroe. My dog, yes sir. Milroe is an explosive athlete who is very capable outside the pocket, but he lacks accuracy, touch, and decision making when he's inside the pocket. Pretty much, he's not a pocket quarterback. A lack of anticipation and timing leads to interceptions and contested throws to intermediate areas of the field. He has an NFL arm, but might need to fine tune his footwork and delivery to improve accuracy on all three levels. He can get through his reads when he's confident and feels protected, but becomes predictable and easy for defenses to manipulate when he's rattled. He's built like a will linebacker, runs like a receiver, is a threat to hit the home run on called runs and scrambles. Milroe was much better deep ball passer in 23, but in 24, regressions made it harder to project success from a pocket at a high enough rate to become capable NFL starter. A strong arm and elite speed will have teams intrigued, but he doesn't make it as a starter. It's incumbent upon his team to find a way to get the ball in his hands with packaged plays. Weaknesses. He threw 5 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in 2024 SEC play, hurried and lagged rhythm when working from the pocket, progressing in decision making or troubled at times, struggles to make anticipatory throws, success rate plummeted when forced to come off primary options, fires hard to catch rockets at underneath targets, sails deep outs and forces crossing routes to break stride to catch it, slow to field mounting presence and takes too many sacks, inconsistent trajectory on intermediate and deep ball throws. All right. All right. Now, we have Dylan Gabriel. Who is all of 5'11", who's also one of the older guys. He happened to be about 25 years old, but nobody speaks on that. Dylan Gabriel, 5'11". He has no NFL comparisons. His overview. Gabriel is an older and smaller quarterback prospect, but he offers a tremendous amount of game experience and productivity. He operates with poise and confidence from the pocket. His field vision is average, but he typically takes care of the football. He's capable of playing within the confines of an offense and can create yards with his legs as needed. Gabriel's accuracy and timing is accurate on shorter throws, but the placement becomes erratic when pushed outside of his comfortable range. Sound like somebody who has arm issues. Okay. He might require a ball control passing game to help manage his lack of arm talent and keep him from throwing into closing windows. He's an effective scrambler who's able to elude pressure and make outside plays of the pocket. Gabriel requires a very specific offensive fit, but he is a gamer with enough good tape to take a chance to become a decent backup. All right. Weaknesses. Lacks prototypical size for the position. Passing schemes allows him to work into big defined windows. Vast majority of 24 targets were inside of 10 yards, including 25% behind the line. Average quickness getting through full field scans, sits on intermediate targets too long with his eyes, ball placement and accuracy isn't as good as it looks on paper, lacks arm strength to lead receivers on deep shots off play action, deep outs and deep seam throws lose their energy. Okay. And this is the last one for the evening. I know everybody's ready to go home, but I got to do this. This person got drafted after Sheduer, but since we here, we're gonna talk about Will Howard. We show is. We're gonna talk about the national champion Will Howard from Ohio State. Ain't that right, Brent? Anyways, so his NFL comparisons is to Blake Bortles. Man, Blake Bortles, huh? Okay. Right. Damn. But hey, Brent, he's a national champion and he is 6'4". That counts for something. Anyways. Will Howard's overview. Oh, y'all gonna love this. Howard brings outstanding size and toughness to the table. He showed good improvement over the last 3 seasons. He is more of a vessel of a play caller than a playmaking talent, though. He typically reads half the field and makes reasonable decisions with the football, using good mechanics and consistent accuracy. He doesn't hold defenders at bay with his eyes and lacks the arm strength to beat tight man coverage on second and third level throws. For all y'all who don't know, second level, a little bit behind the linebacker, in between the safety. Third level lows is deep ball. But Sheduer lacks arm strength, but you can't throw past the linebacker. Anyways, he shows good poise in 2024 to beat the blitz through the air and has always been able to escape pressure by making plays with his legs. Howard is big, tough, and accurate, but benefited from superior talent at the skill positions at Ohio State. Unless he proves he can play chess against NFL defenses, he might not have let me go back. Unless he proves he can play chess against NFL defenders, he might not have enough in the toolbox to become more than an average backup. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. Let's see what his weaknesses are. Very gradual in the setup and release on 3-step drops and RPOs. What? Wait a minute. Don't the Steelers run a run pass offense? Okay, anyway. Can be mechanical and predictable from the pocket. Will struggle to beat NFL corners when throwing outside the numbers or into tight windows. Not enough eye manipulation to keep defenders guessing. Content content with half-field reads instead of getting through his progressions. Has some contested balls bailed out by receivers' ball skills. Long story short, he can't throw nobody open. You're gonna throw it up and whoever get it, gonna get it. And these were all the guys who were drafted before Sheduer. And this was the guy that our very own Brent Fox say he's happy to have instead of Sheduer. Go ahead, Jared.
Say that.
Like Jada said, the pettiness is top tier, but I love it. Oh snap. Okay. Thank you for that review, Big Joe.
This concludes our 2025 NFL draft. Everybody's team's good luck this year, especially the Steelers. I wish y'all the best.
I would wish the best for your team, but you don't have one, sir. All right.
A right hook to follow it. Okay. All right. That was fun. But we gotta get out of here. So Big Joe, let everybody know where they can meet you and see you, man.
You can catch me on all LDBC platforms, showing love to the brothers and sisters of Mighty LDBC. You can catch me in the chats, kicking in and whatnot. You can catch me right here. Dig what I'm saying, cooking up with my brothers and whatnot. And again, everybody, we all in the comments. We all family up here. We got love for each other up here. But
Yes.
sometimes brothers just gonna have to. Sometimes we just all ain't gonna get along.
We ain't gonna
Shout out to
disagree
Brent
all the time.
Fox. Shout out to Coach. Shout out to JB. Shout out to Jared. But again, go Steelers.
Boy, go home.
I'm already home.
Thank you, Growing with Soul, man. Brent Fox, let everybody know where they can meet you and see you, man.
I have a podcast. It's just me, hosted by Brent Fox. I do that on Thursday. Excuse me. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, he has a podcast called "It's Just Me." Comes on every Thursday. It's good content. As you heard today, brother, very knowledgeable in football and especially boxing. So, y'all check the brother out. Coach 67 Sports TV. Let everybody know where they can meet you and see you.
Before I get to me, man, that was some pettiness. See, my women always used to say, man, I'm petty. Hey, see, Big Joe, I found somebody pettier than me. And in terms of my brother Brent Fox, brother Brent, man, you got to leave your live streams up, bro. Come on, man. We trying to share your content. You put it up one day, and the next day it's gone. So you got to keep it up, brother Brent. But anyway, if y'all want to know where y'all can meet me and see me, you can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I'm primarily here on YouTube. Prior to this live stream, I dropped the Southern University video. Let me rephrase that. A swag video on who's going to win the SWAC East and who's going to win the SWAC West. Those two teams are going to play in the SWAC championship game. Tomorrow, I'm going to have another episode of the Coaches Show. I'm going to talk about some of the same topics we talked about here, but I'm going to add a few more topics to it. Enjoyed the show. Enjoy spending time with the family. Y'all come over to my channel and check me out. Y'all have a blessed and phenomenal rest of y'all Sunday and a blessed and phenomenal work week. Peace and blessings.
Hey, coach, real quick. I got a question for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You said brother Brent Fox, he post up and then delete it. Is that what you say?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he got some kind of issue with the live thing, but his live.
No,
you know who does?
I'm not pulling the Tank Davis. I know
you are. You sound like your Tank Davis to me. You post up, then delete it. What it sound like? You know what I mean? So you might as well get a gorilla tattoo on your back next. All right, go ahead, JB.
I didn't even have nothing to say after that. I just let town take it, man. Y'all, man, and I enjoyed Brent's perspective and coach and Jared, man. I'm just gonna be in the background as usual, supporting the brothers, supporting Jared, and y'all have a great rest of the week and work week, and it's gonna be nice kicking the Steelers' ass this year again.
Yeah, highly doubt that, but okay.
Damn.
Oh, you can doubt it all you want. Well, some shit is just gonna be imminent. You feel me? Especially if you ain't got no quarterback.
Yeah. Actually, hey, I got a question. Question. For the Steelers fan that's here, so if Aaron Rodgers ain't gonna be your quarterback, who would you want? Do you want Will Howard or do you want Mason Rudolph to be your quarterback this year?
I mean, to be honest with you, if we do not get Aaron Rodgers, Mason is going to wind up starting off the season. So there's
Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph. Well, I said, brother, again, you don't work for the team. So who do you want, brother? Not what you think gonna happen. You want some new blood? You want some old blood? What you want?
I would definitely want Mason Rudolph to start the season off. Want Howard to develop to help out.
Oh man, I know that, but it sounds very painful saying that. Anyways, go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead.
We'll still split with them though.
Split with who? With Mason with Mason Rudolph?
Why you laughing? When we had Mason Rudolph, we wanted to split with y'all. Y'all didn't sweep us.
They did, Jerry.
Not with this squad.
I'll split with us either.
All I know is make sure Mason Rudolph don't call nobody nigga and we good. All right, go ahead.
Say that.
You right. Y'all did split with us with Mason Rudolph, but not with this squad. Not with this squad. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. We gonna see. That's the whole point.
Stop you all's run this year. I will say that. We're better suited to stop the run this year.
Yeah, y'all are. I give y'all that. Y'all are.
Yeah, after Miles Garrett hit Rudolph tried to hit with his helmet after he called him nigga, he was never the same after that, was he?
No, he wasn't.
He still won the Pittsburgh Steelers football game. So, maybe he might have knocked some sense into him. I don't know.
Right. I mean, Mike Tomlin, y'all coach. Y'all always gonna win at least 8 games because Mike Tomlin, y'all coach.
Well, actually, I got a question for the resident Steeler fan. How do you feel about having the races as your starting quarterback? How do you feel about that?
I do not feel any kind of way because it's not
Oh,
proven
you
any.
don't? Oh, he's not? Oh, okay. So Miles Garrett is lying. Is that what you're saying?
Plays for the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, I mean, his credibility is pretty low with me.
Is Miles Garrett a black man or a white man? So you don't believe a black man? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, I'm not
Oh
going to do
Lord.
politics. I'm simply saying that he's on another football team. That
That's right. That's right, Brent. Stand on your shield. Oh, crazy, man.
He's the only one that heard it, though. I mean, he's the only one that heard it.
Hey, if he was talking to him, I'm sure he was the only one that heard it.
No, I'm sure that Mason didn't whisper that, is what I'm getting at. In order to get conked in the head with a helmet, I don't think that he whispered to him that he was a hard ER.
Okay.
Maybe he whispered it in his ear. You never know,
I just, I very much doubt that. If you're being slammed to the ground by a very athletic 270 plus pound man, I don't think
player of the year.
I don't think you're gonna whisper any damn thing. I think that you yell some shit out. Yeah, you'll yell some shit out, but you ain't gonna whisper. Joe, you've hit people before. Has anybody ever fucking whispered to you while you laid their ass out? I doubt
it. They screamed. Well, they actually screamed some things to me. I've actually I slammed his running back one time, and then I slammed him. I'm laying there. You know, I still got a hold of him. He's like, man, why you hit me like that, dog? He like literally told me that only I could hear. Like, man, why you hit me like that, dog? Man, come on, man, you ain't gotta hit me that hard. So yeah, so you can't whisper to somebody right next to you, you know. So, but anyways, go Steelers.
Wait, go.
Y'all crazy, man. Let me get off here, man. But y'all, this was another fun show, man. If you like what you're hearing, you want to share the good content, please share, like, and subscribe. Also support the other brothers that have channels like they just conveyed. But this was another installment of the Southern Baller Show. Y'all be blessed.
Y'all have a good night. I am gonna keep my content up.